Ladies and gentlemen, how are you? It is good to be back on this Saturday night. I am so sorry about the time mix-up earlier. I woke up to all these notifications and alarms, and I was like, "What is going on? I'm not due on till like the afternoon." And yeah, I must have when I was setting the show last night, I must have screwed up the time. So I'm very sorry about that. But you are here for a really great episode tonight. A story out of New South Wales, Australia, and we got some American stuff at the end. Please don't run away. But it is a very interesting case with a update that came out in the last few days, which is unprecedented. I've never seen this particular person or this particular commission come out and do something so brazen to try solve a case. So I'm going to show you that at the end of the story. The story tonight is about Jessica Small, and I really think this is a case that uh, will make you angry. It'll make you very sad, and I also think it displays what can go wrong when procedure is not followed correctly sometimes, and the mistakes and lessons that law enforcement can learn, in future teen cases. And I think they have. The investigators that have come in later on have done a much better job, and they have really worked very, very hard. The original investigators, we'll get into that a bit later. We'll talk about that, I promise. I have a lot to go over about this particular story. So you might be asking, Ping, why are you doing this um, tonight? And I was like, well, I've been following Jessica's story for a very long time. I remember I lived in Sydney around when she went missing. I actually lived in Western Sydney at the time, and I remember being all over the news when I was young. And I thought, with the anniversary that just went, it was about a month ago. I thought I could do my small bit and help her mum. Her mum's name's Ricky. And I was like, well, I could help her mum out and at least try and use my little platform here to do a bit of an update and spread the story a little further afield than just our little island down here. A motorhome? I don't know. A motorhome pursuit. I mean, we can have a quick look, but I really want to get to Jessica, okay? Let's have a quick look. Channel 2 CBS. Oh, that didn't work. Yeah, Channel 2 CBS. Chase. Oh, there's nothing coming up for me. What is it? LA, LA. Oh, okay. Go to KTLA. KTLA or the other one normally has it. LA News. LA. No. I'm apparently not doing well with my Googling tonight. I'm not a very good Googler. Alright, let's see what they have. Alright, CBS Los Angeles. What do they got? No, it wants to play me ads. Thanks for that. It's showing me an ad for the Transformers. Okay. Oh, here. Is this the one that happened 54 minutes ago? Police chase ends with violent crash that kills one person in Winnetka? Is that how you pronounce that? In Los Angeles? That is brutal. I don't know if that's the same one. It's not showing me anything on the live stream on CBS 2. It's like I can show you quickly, but it's not showing me anything. Hold on. Yeah, it's just showing me ads for Star Trek Discovery or something. Yeah, I'll put it up. It's in an ad break. See? I can't show too much of this, else I'll get in trouble, but it's just showing me ads. They're saying this is the one of the chases though. That is a pretty bad breakup. Did they survive? I hope so. Shortly after the chase started, the suspect crashed into a Tesla, then veered into two other uninvolved cars. One person inside the Tesla was declared dead at the scene. Oh, wow. They say 3 other people suffered minor injuries. It's not what we want to hear from people. All right, we'll check out. We'll check out the chase later, because I can't find anything. It doesn't show me anything. Normally we use KTLA or ABC7. I'll check ABC7. Normally they have it. No, they've got one called Teen Killed in Possible Road Rage Attack. I don't think that's the same thing. All right. All right. Look, I'll check into it a bit later, okay? I really want to get onto the title topic. But I'll say hello to everyone before we get started. Hey, Laura, good to see you. Burnt popcorn, love you more. Oh, it was 1 day ago. Yeah, that's okay. Well, look, I'll show everyone at the end, okay? I promise. Diamond Heart, good to see you, my sweet friend. Marlon Clausen, sending healing vibes to all who need them. I think we all go through our different things in life, and we all have our challenges, whether it be health or other things, and we could all use some good vibes. Hey, Andrew. Oh, no, Andrew. That's James Avery. Hey, James Avery. Penguin. Hey, my sweet friend. By the way, Penguin, I did get your donation on Monday. I didn't see you for the rest of the week, so couldn't say thank you. So I read your message. Thank you very much. We are still going to trial, and I will be at Erin Patterson's trial early next year. So thank you very much for your contribution to that. That helps out a lot. That was like 4 grand on the credit card. So thank you. It really does help. Let's see. Who else I say? Natasha, Laura Teague. Hello, guys. Shout out to Laura T's brother watching on his TV. Your sister tells me you love the Skin So Soft episode. That's one of my favorites too. We had a lot of fun that night. It's nice to hear some positive feedback from you. Thank you. I hate mornings, Andrew. There's Andrew. Hey, Andrew. I thought I saw Sean. Hey, Sean, Maria. Nana Lana's here. Marilyn Landis. I hate mornings. Diamond Heart. Who else is here? Natasha. Hey, Natasha. Let me see. Anyone else have to say hello to? Betty C was here earlier. Unfortunately, she won't be able to watch live tonight. Betty C is one of my most lovely supporters. Always sends me great feedback and messages. I'm so thankful to have someone like that. Wendy R, by the way, Wendy R sent in a very early super chat. Wendy R says, "Yay, I'm actually home to listen in. Thank you very much." And I appreciate that. Let's see. Did we get anyone else? Stragglers? No. Okay. All right. You're not here? Did I say Gayla? I thought I did. All right, let's get going. This case is one that, like, I would say it rocked the not only the town of Bathurst in New South Wales, but also the wider Australian region. I knew people who lived in Bathurst around this time, being that I grew up in Western Sydney, and I remember like, because I was young at the time, I remember their parents being very paranoid about letting their kids go out at night, no matter the age, but especially girls. So we had a lot of female friends, and oftentimes they were told no, they weren't allowed to come out, or like, no, they can't go to X, Y, and Z event because they were just so scared that this might happen to their children, whether they lived in Bathurst or the Blue Mountains or other places, Penrith. Like, it didn't just affect that city, it affected a wider area of New South Wales, because as far as I'm concerned, even today in 2024, it's been a very long time, there is a man out there, a predator, an actual predator, someone, you'll hear all about this in a minute, a predator who roamed the streets and tried to take 2 women, in the middle of the night. Tried to, didn't succeed, one was able to get away. I'm gonna tell you a little bit more about her in a minute as well. But at first, I want you to watch a press conference that, came up. It was in 26th of October, which is the anniversary of the event. Jessica went missing Sunday, 26th of October, 1997. This is the $1 million announcement from the New South Wales government and the New South Wales police force saying that they were going to pony up a whole bunch of cash to try and get someone to come forward and talk about who is responsible for Jessica's disappearance. And according to the inquest, they believe she has been murdered. So here we go.
Side squad in New. Morning, ladies and gentlemen. Scott Cook's my name. I'm the commander of the homicide squad in New South Wales. As you know, I'm here today to talk to you about the murder of Jessica Small. It's the 21st anniversary today of her abduction and believed murder. As you know, today we're also announcing an increase in the reward for information from $100,000 to $1 million. We are really interested in hearing from members of the public and people who may have something to say about Jessica's abduction and murder. We're particularly interested in hearing from people who may have been in William Street at Bathurst in October 1997 on the 26th. We're also interested in hearing from people who may have been in the vicinity of Hereford Street, Bathurst on the same day. And in particular, we're interested in hearing from people who may have been in the Eglinton area just outside of Bathurst on the same day. We have new information regarding the vehicle that was used to abduct Jessica, and we believe that it was sighted in Eglinton heading towards Hill End. Anyone with any information can contact Crime Stoppers on 1800 333 000, and I'll invite your questions.
Just elaborate on the car, if you would.
Yeah, so over the last few years, we've looked at about over 100 cars that may be of interest. We believe the car was probably unregistered. We believe that the car had damage to the floor, the passenger side floor well of the vehicle. We believe the car could have been stolen. We believe it was a white vehicle. Previously, it was described as a Holden Commodore, but we're not convinced that's the case. We're actually looking for any small white vehicle that was in the vicinity of Eglinton early on that morning. We've forensically examined over 5 vehicles in detail, and we know that they're not the vehicles. So from our point of view, we really need to find that vehicle.
There are people who have lived with secrets for a very long time, 21 years now. What do you want to say to the people who are just sitting on it? You're hoping this reward will prompt them to speak? Absolutely. $1 million is a lot of money. It's on the table. We know that there's people who know what happened to Jessica. We know that. We know there's people close to those people who are involved in Jessica's kidnapping and murder, and we would encourage them to come forward. There's now 1 million reasons on the table for you to come forward.
Back in January 2015, you issued a $100,000 reward. Do you know if that amounted to any new information?
Yeah, we often get contacted immediately after reward announcements. We follow up on all that information, and we have been. The detectives involved in this matter have been very diligent following up those leads. It's led them to numerous inquiries, a number of persons of interest, and in fact, we're encouraged that there is new lines of inquiries and new persons of interest for us to look at.
Okay, I'm going to stop it there because it is quite an old press conference. Some things, not that they've changed, but they've been updated. So I'm going to show you a couple of slides here because when we talk about Jessica tonight, I want it to be very clear that the reason I'm doing this is to, in case someone is searching or someone might know something and they search YouTube for a video. I know there's quite a few, but they might come across this one. I want to make it very clear that this video is to get people to call. is to get that final piece of information to get Jessica's case, find someone responsible and put them before a court in Australia and give her family some peace and get maybe find where she is, because her mum Ricky and her wider family have suffered for almost 30 years. Or 30 years, wait, 97, 07, 17, yeah, almost 30 years. It'll be coming up to the 30-year anniversary in a couple of years. So I'm going to show you a couple of things here. Is it this one? All right. This one. All right. Yes. Even today in 2024, that press conference you watched was from 2018. The police still have $1 million reward for information in Jessica's presumed murder and abduction. They say anyone with information that may assist Strike Force Carica 2 may help their investigators is urged to contact Crime Stoppers on 1-800-333-000 or call, or you can go to their website on the bottom, newsouthwales.crimestoppers.com.au. But this is the unprecedented thing. The New South Wales Crime Commission Director of Criminal Investigations has urged anyone with information who does not feel comfortable calling Crime Stoppers for any reason to ring his personal mobile phone. His name is, I think it's Haney Elbatori. He can be contacted on 0479 187 202. Or if you, again, Crime Stoppers can be called on 1-800-333-000. Now, the New South Wales Crime Commission, they are a very secretive organization. They work in a bunch of different things to do with crime, policing, and stuff like that. I have never ever heard of him putting out his personal mobile phone number or cell number if you're in the US. I've never heard of it. It's very unprecedented for him to put his name and his personal mobile. They really, really want that final bit of information. They believe they are on the right track, and they have had some interesting the way I'd put it was they've had some interesting lines of inquiry come through, but they need more. They need some more. So if you lived in or around Bathurst or is it Overton? I'm gonna have to double check that. My pronunciation is terrible. My ping's always like, can't you pronounce stuff properly? I just want to make sure the suburbs are correct because I suck at pronouncing things. Yeah, I think it is. Overton, I can't remember how you pronounce it. Yeah, anywhere around that region. If you're anywhere around that region in 1997, around the date Jessica is alleged to have been, well, not alleged, she was, according to the inquiry, she was abducted and they believe now murdered. So if you have any information, contact those numbers that I read out. Yeah, Sunday, October 1997 in the early hours. So we're talking like just after midnight, very early in the morning. If you were around that area, around the amusement center on Russell Street in Bathurst, or anywhere in the, 10 kilometers either way, even 20 kilometers either side of that area, and you saw anything that you think is suspicious, I don't want to put a like a box on it and say like, oh, if you only saw this or you only saw that. If you saw anything that you think doesn't, it didn't add up, something looked a little weird, look, you're a local, you've been there for a long time, and you're like, hey, that doesn't happen here. They need to know about it. Come forward. You may be able to claim $1 million if you can help put her family out of the misery of not knowing what happened to their daughter Jessica, and hopefully bring someone before the courts to be held accountable and possibly return her to her family, which would be very nice. I really wanted to start on that strong point of this is hopefully to get someone to call in, because I personally can't imagine what it would be like to not know what happened to a family member for over 30 years or close to 30 years. And as we go into this next bit, I'm going to tell you some information from the inquest into her death, into her disappearance and presumed death. When you hear what happened that night, you'll understand why this is so important that we find out who did this to Jessica and her friend. So thank you for listening to that one. Hey, TYO Toys, good to see you again. I hope you're having a good weekend. Laura T says, it's so good to see that they are still interested in solving this. The new task force, Carica 2, have done a great job. The original task force, we'll talk about that. I think I can't understand why they did what they did. I'm not a cop, so I don't know. But for a coroner to come out and basically blast them as incompetent is unheard of. I've never heard of a coroner going against the police. Normally, they work side by side. So, Wendy asked that is a very long time to have no answers. In a very let me paint a picture for you. Bathurst in 1997, it's an inland city in New South Wales. So if you were in Sydney and you just kept heading west over the Blue Mountains and kept going, you'd end up in Bathurst. It's a most people would know it from the Bathurst 1000, which is a car racing event. So if you've ever heard of the Bathurst 1000, that's sort of the same area. And it's a inland city. That's the way I would call it. Probably in 1997, it was still a fairly largish population, but it's still not like, Sydney, Australia. It's still what most people would call a regional town. Sean says, I went there the week after and they were very suspicious of outsiders. Yes, because the guy they believe responsible worked at the timber mill in a different location. We'll get to that. But thank you for letting me know. Yeah, they're doing a decent job. So let me show you some details about what happened at the inquest. I'd really love to show you the reenactment from 60 Minutes as well, because I think it really sets the what happened. But I want to tell you some details, some foundational details of what transpired first, and then we'll go into that. So let me take you here to the State Coroner's Court of New South Wales. It's an inquest into the disappearance and suspected death of Jessica Beth Small. And place of findings, the State Coroner's Court in Bathurst. They say here the findings. So their findings of this, and I'll show you the more detailed bit when we get there. They say after interviewing everyone, including, I think they said over 11 volumes of briefing evidence from the police. 11. They're like those giant folders that are just full of documents and interviews and paperwork. 11 on this particular case. The coroner says that they find that Jessica Small died on or after the 26th of October 1997. Her death is suspicious, and I am satisfied that she died at the hands of a person or persons unknown. We'll get to that. They made some interesting findings in this particular one. So I don't want to read this too much, but I will say that Jessica was born actually in Perth, so Perth, WA, on the 27th of July, 1982. She was the youngest child of Ricky and Stephen Small. Her parents separated when she was approximately 2 years old. When her mother moved to the Bathurst area with Jessica, her older siblings, Rebecca and Matthew, so they all moved there. In 1997, Ricky Small was living in Fish Parade. I love that name. In Gormans Hill, a suburb of Bathurst. The evidence before this inquest indicates that during that year, Jessica was living in a number of places, including with her mother, her sister, and a number of friends. So she was sort of transient, and she moved around. So sometimes she would stay at her mum's, but often her and her mum, Ricky, got into a lot of fights. I don't think that's abnormal. A lot of people have painted that as some sort of like bad parenting, like, Ricky was such a shit mum or whatever. I don't think so. I think she was just dealing with like any kind of 15-year-old. Like, we all 15-year-old kids that get into all sorts of crap. They are, they're trying to push back on authority, especially their parents. They rebel, and I think it was just a very, sort of normal, time in a lot of teenagers' lives where they just don't get along fully with their parents. So, and if you ever hear anyone that says that Ricky was, not a good mum or whatever, don't listen to that. She has worked tirelessly to try and find out what happened to her daughter over 27 years. So they're saying here, on all accounts, Jessica had a wide circle of friends, and in the latter half of 1997, it appears that one of her closest friends, Vanessa and Jessica had a lot in common, and Vanessa lived with her dad in Fish Parade, Gorman's Hill, so same area. They were a similar age and hung around with the same crowd, and that's according to her statement in 10th of March 1999. Vanessa said, and this is her friend, in 1997, I became good friends with Jessica and got to know her better. In 1997, I commenced year 9 at Bathurst High School, and Jessica commenced year 10 at Kelso High School. I would see Jessica nearly every day. She would come to my house, I would go to her house. We would eat, talk, watch TV, and listen to music. She told me that she would fight with her mum a fair bit, pretty much about everything. She would ask her mother for money, and her mother would say no. She would only ask her for money on a Thursday when her mother had money. If her mother said no, that would start a huge fight, and they would not talk for a couple of days. Jessica would sometimes sneak out at night, and her mother would catch her. Sometimes there were parties on, and she was not allowed to go. This would annoy her because on some days her mother would not really care what she did. Jessica's mother would go into the shops about 3 times a week. A lot of the time would be to buy groceries, but Ricky would more often than not end up at the King's Hotel in George Street, Bathurst, where she would spend all the grocery money on alcohol and get drunk. Then there would be no money left for groceries. This is what started a lot of fights between Jessica and Ricky. Why Jessica would be at home much, there was never any food in the house to eat. It paints a pretty grim picture, and I know that goes against what I said before, but, you know, obviously, she had her problems at the time. I'm not going to bash anyone for their, addictions or whatever. I still think she loved her daughter very much. And I've seen Ricky on Facebook and, other meetings and press conferences and things like that. I don't think, those type of things. I don't think she wanted to like push her daughter out and be like, "Yeah, you go away, you go get murdered." Like, I don't think that, two things can be the same at the same time, right? So an older woman can have a bit of a drinking issue, but also still love her daughter very much, and not like have her issues sometimes affect her relationship with her daughter. Doesn't mean she doesn't love her. It says here, accordingly, it seemed that say here, on 27th of July 1997, Jessica turned 15 years old, and she'd been attending Kelso High School in year 10. However, it appears that she dropped out of school in or about April or May of that year. Accordingly, it seems that in the second half of 1997, prior to her disappearance, Jessica's life had very little structure or stability. She was not attending school, she did not have a job. Moreover, she was not living at one particular location and moved regularly between family and extended friends, and like couch surfing and hanging out with girlfriends. And they say, as a direct result of this lack of structure, investigators were required to piece together the events of Jessica's life in the days and weeks leading up to her disappearance in the early hours of 26th of October 1997. They say this was made more difficult by the fact that this work was not carried out until some 8 years after she disappeared, when Strike Force Carica 2 was formed. The results of that investigation can be summarized as follows. So the reason why they're saying that is the original investigation didn't go anywhere. We're only at the start, but I'll just say that when Vanessa reported what had happened to police, the police became of the opinion that Jessica had basically orchestrated her disappearance and wanted to run away from her mother. And they just would not budge on that. They were just like, nah, there was no abduction. There was no like, there's no murder here or anything. It's just a silly little 15-year-old girl who's run away from home. We're not going to worry about any of that. We're not going to start an investigation. We're not going to canvass anything. So they're saying here, on the 14th of October 1997, Jessica traveled to Sydney with Vanessa to do some shopping. Around this time, but after the Sydney trip of the 14th, Jessica spent some time in Orange with a friend, Ricky Vincent. In Orange, Jessica spent a few days at a flat occupied by Belinda and Brendan Forsman before being asked to leave after an incident where Jessica apparently brought some young men back to the flat. So apparently she brought some random people back to her friend's apartment when they weren't expecting it. It's a pretty outlandish thing to do when a friend is giving you a place to stay. You're just like, hey, come party at my friend's house. That it's not my home. It's a pretty weird thing to do. They're saying, but by about Wednesday, the 22nd of October 1997, 3 days before she disappeared, Jessica was back in Bathurst. It was around that date that Jessica approached Mal Pollard, the owner of Amuse Me, and asked him to mind a bag. Apparently, it had clothes and some property of hers from moving around. They're saying her friend Vanessa recalls bumping into Jessica in Bathurst after her return from Orange. Vanessa notes that Jessica had changed her appearance remarkably in that she had cut her hair fairly short and had stopped wearing makeup. I have seen some speculation about this, that some people think maybe something happened to Jessica while she's away. Unfortunately, we'll never know unless someone comes forward and tells us that it. I don't think it's directly related to her disappearance or her death, but some people saying that this is actually a classic sign of someone who may have been SA'd. That's she was trying to make herself seem more unattractive to men. I don't know if this is true, but it is a claim that has been brought up a few times by several people. It was never brought up at the inquest. I can't verify it. Just some people said it just had the hallmarks of someone who maybe may have had something traumatic happen to them, which I can understand from those details. They're saying it is likely that Jessica was staying upon her return from Orange, possibly at her sister Rebecca's house in Kelso. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I'm not from the area. And that she also spent some time, probably along with Vanessa, at Chris Hogan's place at O'Connell. They say on Friday, the 24th of October, 1997, Jessica stayed the night at Chris Hogan's place in O'Connell. They say it was the evidence of Chris Hogan that Saturday, the 25th of October, his father gave Jessica and he a lift into Bathurst a bit after lunchtime. It appears that Jessica went home to her mother's house that Saturday, perhaps to drop some clothing off. Okay, now we get to the night she went missing. In order to ascertain what occurred on Saturday, the 25th of October 1997, police obtained statements from 30 to 40 witnesses who had seen or were known to spend time with Jessica in 1997. Unfortunately, with the passage of time, and as many were under the influence of drugs or alcohol, the recollections of what did occur on the night prior to Jessica's disappearance are in many cases hazy at best. I am satisfied on the balance of probabilities that the following events did occur. Number one, Jessica and Vanessa left 21 Fish Parade in the late afternoon or early evening and walked into town. When they arrived in the Bathurst CBD, they saw Jessica's mother, Ricky, at a hotel, and Ricky gave Jessica some money. The two girls then walked to the Amuse Me Center. So, what is Amuse Me? It's an arcade. So, for our American people or other people, it's an arcade where underage people might hang out because they're too young to go to a bar. So they'll be hanging out at an arcade place. They've got video games and a pool table, and it's a place to socialize in town that probably doesn't have very much for people under 18. You know, in these type of towns back then, teenagers were pretty much left to their own devices. Internet was not really around very much, dial up maybe, and kids just sort of found ways to socialize and have fun. And one of those places was Amuse Me in the CBD. They're saying they hung around in town for a while, got some food at Mick's Takeaway, and spent some time at Amuse Me. They say here in part number 2, Jessica drank some alcohol that night, 2 or 3 drinks, got a bit tipsy, but wasn't drunk. They're saying here there were a large number of people at Amuse Me that night. Jessica and Vanessa spent time there playing pool and dancing to music, sort of like an underage disco, but with video games. They're saying during the night, the group of friends, including Darren Mason, Chris Hogan, and Sarah Thornhill, moved between Amuse Me and Kings Parade Park, so a park in town. A number of them were upset because Luke Hutchins' uncle, Hotsy, had been found dead earlier the same night. That's pretty tragic, right? So another death associated with, unfortunately, Jessica's disappearance as well. Not related, just seemed to all happen all at once for this group of people. They're saying later that evening, Jessica and Vanessa got a lift with a friend, Richard Dennis. They called him Frog. That was his name. They said they got a lift to Ben Clark's house, and it's a couple of kilometers away from the CBD. However, when they found that Ben Clark was not at home, they were driven back into town. After that, Jessica and Vanessa went to Mick's Takeaway again, but finding none of their friends there, they headed back to the arcade, Amuse Me, which was by then no longer open. It was closed. The two girls ended up near a Cropple Greek restaurant on William Street, and were discussing whether they should go home to bed. They decided, however, to go back to Ben Clark's place and see if he was home. They said the girls began to walk along William Street. Hold on, guys. Sorry, we got storms here. I was like, do we have to close the window? Sorry, let me get back to that. Sorry to break that. They said the girls began to walk along William Street towards Kings Parade Park when they noticed a car go past them and then turn around and park on the opposite side of the road. From what police have been able to ascertain, there was no other witnesses to the girls getting into the car that evening. Accordingly, the events as they unfolded can only be provided by Vanessa. Vanessa provided her first statement to police on the 26th of October, 1997. Since that time, she has provided a number of statements and given oral evidence to the inquiry. Her evidence has remained consistent throughout, and I found her to be a forthright, compelling, and honest witness. Vanessa's evidence can be summarized as follows. The girls had hitchhiked before to get in and out of town. She approached the driver of the white four-door sedan, which they later identified to be a Holden Commodore. But as you heard in that press conference, they no longer think that is the case. They don't want people to focus on a white Holden Commodore. They want people just to focus on a white four-door sedan. No make or model. They don't believe that to be correct anymore. They said while Jessica sat on a little wall in the park, she did not know the driver, and she spoke to him simply because it was her turn to, try and hitch a ride. The driver asked, "How was your video games and your games of pool or something similar?" and asked what they had been up to and where they were off to. The two girls then got into the car, Vanessa in the front and Jessica in the back, and told the driver they wanted to go to, is it Hereford Street? I'm probably pronouncing that badly. While driving along the street, Vanessa saw the lights from the houses at the end of the street and said to the driver something to the effect of, "See where that light is? Can you drop us off there?" To which the driver replied, "Yeah, I could do that." However, the driver then slowed and stopped the car on the street when they were still several hundred meters from Ben Clark's house. and in an area where there was no houses and no lighting. The driver had taken off his seatbelt, brought the car to a stop alongside a wire fence. The driver then turned to Jessica, who was seated in the back, and said, "Right, come here." To which Vanessa responded with, "I don't think so." The driver then put his hand around Vanessa's throat, pushed her back into the seat. Jessica then opened her door, resulting in the driver letting go of Vanessa and trying to reach for Jessica. The two girls attempted to flee from the car. Vanessa describes having to rip her hair from the driver's grip and started screaming and running in the direction of their friend Ben Clark's house. She states, "Jess and I then started running off towards the houses where Ben Clark, Bunge, our friend, lives. We were both screaming out for help at the top of our voices. Jess was running behind me. I knew she was behind me because she screamed out first. We were yelling out, 'Help us, help us.' Also to Bunge, they were also yelling out to their friend Ben. I heard Jess scream, 'Help,' but it was a long sound for help. Then I didn't hear anything more and I kept running. I didn't look back as I ran." Vanessa then ran to a group of houses at the end of the street, believing that Jessica was behind her. She ran to one of the houses and banged on the window, waking up the occupants. The police were called and attended the home of Vicky Connors and her then boyfriend Nathan and her mother Faye. Then they lived at number 88 on that street. They had been woken by Vanessa banging at the front window, whom they all described as shaken, white, and scared. They're saying here, moreover, it was the evidence of Sergeant Peter McFarland that when he and Constable Rooney attended, Vanessa was incoherent, crying, trembling, and that she was terrified. He said that in evidence it had been a fair while since I'd seen anyone or someone that upset, and that it took us about 5 or 6 minutes to calm her down to a point where she was reasonably coherent. They're saying Sergeant McFarlane and Constable Rooney drove Vanessa around various parts of Bathurst in an attempt to look for a white car matching a description she had given to police and Nathan, namely that it looked like a Holden Commodore. The search for the actual car was unsuccessful, and it was the evidence of both officers that they tested Vanessa's version of events throughout the night and that there was never any significant changes to that version and that she remained consistent. Accordingly, bearing in mind the evidence of two police officers who between them at the time of Jessica's disappearance had many years' experience, who both claimed to have accepted her version of events and believe it to be truthful, it's hard to believe that so little was done by Bathurst police to investigate or take seriously Jessica's disappearance in the days, weeks, and months which followed. So there you go. There's the coroner lashing into Bathurst police at the time, and you can see how scary that would have been for two young girls trapped in a vehicle with a guy they didn't know. Obviously, started being aggressive, and it's a story we've heard many times before. You know, a person hops into a car that they're not familiar with. The driver seems to be doing the right thing, taking them where they want to go. And all of a sudden, things change. The driver stops. He becomes aggressive. It's a story we've heard many times in many other cases, unfortunately. And this is why I was trying to tell you, there really is a predator out there. This guy is not an opportunist. He was searching for these girls. And it's because there's a bit later on that you haven't heard yet. They believe he may have been at that arcade earlier that night, and they believe that he may have been sort of perving on the girls earlier that night at the arcade. When the arcade closed, he started driving around town, sort of just seeing if they were around, and then finally came across them, and their paths crossed because they needed a lift back out of town. And unfortunately, Jessica has never been found, although Vanessa was able to escape from the vehicle. I can't imagine what it must be like to be Vanessa. She must have the most awful survivor's guilt ever, because she she was sure that her friend was right behind her, screaming for help with her. And I've heard evidence where she said she felt her, like, you know, when you can tell someone's behind you when you're running and you can feel the air or how close her voice is. She said she could feel her, like she was just there. And then when she finally got to the house, she turned around. Jessica was gone, and so was the car. And they don't know what happened. Diane Marie said, "This is a scary bedtime story." I'm sorry. Nunalana says, "Ping. So you were saying the police did not believe Vanessa?" Um, I think the original police that did that came to the call out, I think they did. I think when they took it back to command, I think the command made a decision that they didn't believe it. And then, obviously rank and file gets moved down and they have to toe the party line. And they just thought it was a runaway girl and that these two women had somehow, well, not women, teenagers, had concocted a story to, I don't know, get her friend to run away. But Vanessa has never changed her story ever. She has not changed her story in almost 30 years. The events that she keeps telling every time she's called to give evidence, or every time she had been called, it never changed. It was the same story, the same details. Everything is legitimate, and that's why Task Force Corsica too, they believe her, and they were like, "Oh my god, we have lost years of evidence. We've lost opportunity, time, uh, witnesses. People's details fade unless you talk to them in the first couple of days or even the first hour after something happens. You're not going to get the same information because it blurs out. And going back 8 years to try and recreate a crime or try and figure it out is very, very difficult. And it does make your mind boggle why those original police discounted that there was an abduction in Bathurst. Marlene says, never hitchhiked in my life, too scared. When I can tell you, I've lived in regional areas, especially when I was a young man. I'm not a girl or a woman. I can tell you that even for me, when I hitchhike places, I used to live in Noosa, and Noosa has no public transport, or it didn't when I lived there. And to get into town to go to the pub, because we were young, we wanted to go drink, that was the only way. Like a cab was about $120. Like that's your drinking money for the weekend, right? So we always hitchhike. We used to get into people's vans and all sorts of things like that. I mean, I don't know how we didn't end up dead. Although we did end up meeting some very nice Rastafarian white guys who had a lot of weed. It was an interesting trip. They were cool guys. They were like touring around in a van across Australia, and they picked us up one time. But yeah, we used to do it in the early 2000s. I was 19, 18, and at that time, and we did it 100%. Yeah. Well, I didn't have parents or a mother to ground me, so I sort of did what I wanted to do. Very, very much like not very much like Jessica, but Jessica sort of did what she wanted to do a lot of the time because her mum was you know, not always present. Yeah, very, very scary. So I wanted to show you some of the evidence of this. And I hope you guys can read along. I hope you guys can see the wording. I've tried to blow it up as much as I can. I can make it a little bigger, but it makes it hard for me to read. There we go. Is that better for you guys? Okay, let's go down. Yeah. The coroner says this matter has unfortunately been complicated by the serious inadequacies of the initial investigation into Jessica's disappearance. It became abundantly clear upon receipt of the brief of evidence that very little was done between the period between 1997 and 2007, by the Bathurst police in relation to Jessica's disappearance. Accordingly, I requested that the police commissioner or his representative consider making a concession that there were deficiencies in the initial investigation at the outset of this inquest. So he's basically saying he wants they want an official statement from police saying that they didn't do their job. That's what the inquest is asking for. They're asking for, when they ask for a concession, he's asking for them to come forward and publicly say to the coroner, we didn't do our job. We did the wrong thing. And that's very hard for police to do because I think they always like to think that they're helping people or doing the best they can. But I think the evidence here shows you that there's no two ways about it, that they really didn't do the right thing. Kathleen says, where does the reward money come from? I think it just comes from our government. Some of them come from some of them have funds. Like I know in other places, like other countries, they come from is it in the UK? They have the lottery, and some of the rewards for information come from the lottery. I don't know if that happens here. I'm pretty sure it just comes from the New South Wales state government. So they put up the money to get these this money, in case someone can claim the reward. But I think if I'm right, if I'm correct, I don't think anyone has claimed $1 million reward yet. I don't think so. I'm pretty sure no one has successfully claimed a $1 million reward for any of these big cases. Not yet. I know there's one that is there's one that's a possibility that they think might be able to get claimed due to someone who came forward, but it's not been done yet. So I don't think anyone's actually got $1 million as of yet. So hey, you could be the first one. If you're watching this and you were from the area at the time, you could be the first one. How cool would that be? I wonder if they'd probably even be able to keep you anonymous. They'd be able to keep you anonymous. You get $1 million, and then you move to Bali. You move to Bali, and no one ever has to know. Nanalana says, that is so much money and no one has come forward. There are I think there's more than 10 or 20 cases that have a $1 million reward just in New South Wales, just in that one state of Australia. Yeah, we hitchhiked a lot back when I was younger, because we couldn't afford it. Couldn't afford a taxi. And when you lived in a rural area, there was no public transport. There was no buses. Like, unless you drove a car, there was no way to get around. So I totally understand why these girls or teenagers did that, because I did the same thing. Jessica was born only 2 years earlier than me. So I was only 2 years younger. So if she was 15 in 1997, I was 13. So we're very similar ages. And I really understand what it was like back then to live in a rural community. Well, not rural, but inland regional is the way I would describe it. Rural describes something different. It's like you live on a farm and there's just farms everywhere. It was more like an inland city, a regional city. Diane Marie says, I was a hippie, but too scared to hitchhike. So you're only like half a hippie. Gambler says, yeah, I've done it a bunch of times. Would I do it today? No. After I got working in true crime, I would never ever do it again. So many people have been abducted and killed while hitchhiking. It's so dangerous. I would never ever do it again. I don't even know why I'm alive today. Like, we hopped in the car with some real sketchy people when I was younger. But that's sort of what it was like. There was no Uber. There was no, they had taxi, but taxi cost a fortune. Like, if you had to go even half an hour away, that was $40, $50. What teenager has $50? They just don't. In the 90s, $50 was like $100 today. Like, $50 was a lot of money. And, kids 15, 18, 17, they don't have $50 to waste on just getting somewhere. That's their money for like the weekend or having fun or, you know, alcohol, that type of thing. So yeah, hitchhiking happened a lot. It happened a lot. They're saying here, according to the Council for the New South Wales Police, the following concession in relation to the initial investigation carried out into Jessica's disappearance. They say, my client, who is the New South Wales Police, does acknowledge that the early investigation, that is the investigation from 1997 to 2007, was deficient in a number of respects, largely because of the structure of the police force as it was at the time, and was probably based on the views of investigators at the time. There were witnesses that should have been followed up, but were not. The significance of those witnesses, we will never know. They may have been good, they may have been bad, but nevertheless, they should have been followed up. So they're saying basically, yeah, they shelved it. They shelved it. They basically did nothing. Yeah. They're saying, firstly, the initial police investigation where it was deficient, they had formed a view without proper basis and without any real investigation that Jessica had falsified her disappearance in order to escape her mother and her lifestyle. And accordingly, the claims made by Vanessa Conlon that she had been abducted were simply false. Secondly, no officer in charge was appointed to coordinate the investigation of the abduction and disappearance of Jessica. Thirdly, the initial police investigation had failed or neglected to carry out a general canvass to find out who was at Amuse Me at the night of 25th of October 1997 or at the King's Parade Park, nor did they attempt to take statements from those people or young persons as to what they observed that they may have seen that was out of the ordinary, such a canvass would have undoubtedly uncovered in a timely manner the possible crucial evidence of William Ross, who was working at Amuse Me on the night that Jessica went missing. No statement was taken from him until 2008. Despite the fact that Mal Pollard had indicated to police the day after Jessica's disappearance that Mr. Ross had spoken to a man in Amuse Me who had taken a keen interest in Jessica. Despite the length of the delay in providing his evidence, Mr. Ross ultimately gave evidence to the effect that he saw Jessica and Vanessa that night at the arcade, and that Jessica was slightly affected by alcohol, and that he spoke with a man that night who seemed to recognize him, that the man looked about 34 years of age or maybe older, and said he was working at the Oberon Timber Mill. That's the other suburb, Oberon, sorry. He described the man as Australian, about 5'8" tall, medium build with a bit of a beer belly and dark hair. He said the man was wearing jeans, joggers, and a long sleeve button shirt, somewhere between a cowboy type shirt and a flannelette type shirt, and that he had a set of keys hanging from his jeans on a little hook on sort of thing. Mr. Ross said the man was looking at Jessica, who was dancing and making some noise, and said, "Who's that? She looks like she's out for a good night." Mr. Ross told the man, "That's Jess." There you go. Isn't that creepy? A 34-year-old man perving on a 15-year-old girl at an arcade. This guy is above the age of 18. He could have gone to the bar, further in town where all the other adults are and had as many beers as he wanted and hit on as many over the age of 18 girls as he wanted to. Probably could have picked up a girl and done whatever. But instead, he was at an arcade perving on 15-year-olds and asking the manager at the time, "Who's that girl?" I think that is very creepy. They say Darren Mason, who was a patron of the arcade on the evening of the 25th of October, Mr. Mason only provided a detailed statement in 2008, 10 years after. They say despite his efforts to tell initial investigators about this man in 1997, which he said was just shrugged off, Mr. Mason ultimately described seeing a male with a big build, dark brown scraggly shoulder-length hair, and wearing a red and black flannelette shirt and a jacket. and Sarah Thornhill, a friend who had attended primary school with Jessica and had spent some time with her on the night of her disappearance. Miss Thornhill provided her first statement to police on the 28th of April, 2008. It says, wherein she stated that she observed a man at the arcade whom she had seen in a white Commodore earlier that evening. If statements had been taken from the above witnesses in 1997, no doubt their recollection would have been stronger, and it is highly likely that additional witnesses may have been uncovered or located that would have corroborated or shed further light on this person seen at or in the vicinity of the arcade the night of Jessica's disappearance. The coroner says it is clear that at the time of her disappearance, Jessica was no angel. She was simply a wayward teenager testing boundaries. This, however, did not and does not make her disappearance, which has clearly occurred in suspicious circumstances, any less deserving of being given the investigation and the attention it required. At the time of her disappearance, many of Jessica's friends were most likely known to Bathurst police and were, despite the disappearance of one of their own, likely hesitant to approach police willingly with information. This situation was, in my view, compounded by the fact that Vanessa's account was at the time dismissed by at least some police. I mean, how can police dismiss her account when they found her at a property looking white as a ghost, banging on a window and screaming? I mean, why would she make that up? And I don't yeah. Yeah, they say their fourth point in the failed initial investigation. They say police failed to take statements from witnesses who actually approached them in the days following Jessica's disappearance with information they believe may have possibly been related to her abduction and disappearance. In particular, Mr. Robert Fitzpatrick, who in 1997 lived at 34 Turrendale Road, Eglinton, whose evidence can be surmised as following. At about 1 a.m. that night, he heard screams and saw a whitish colored car, which he said was either a Holden Commodore or a Holden Chimera, stop near his property. The screams were of a woman, that they were panic screams, and he said he thought he heard something like, "Help." He saw a hand coming out over the driver's shoulder, apparently from someone in the back, and that the car stopped about 30 or 40 meters from his home, at which point there seemed to be a scuffle taking place with the driver kneeling and reaching over into the back of the car. After this, the driver opened the boot of the car and was fooling around trying to find something, and that he heard a little bang. The driver then went back and knelt on the front seat over to the back seat, after which he drove off normally. That is chilling. That is chilling that someone witnessed that. The driver was described by Mr. Fitzpatrick as not being a big man and said his impression was that he was between 30 and 40, but he did not see his face. Mr. Fitzpatrick said he took mental note of the number plate, which he thought from the colour might have been a Canberra or Queensland plate, but that he did not write down the number because when he returned home, he could not find a pen. So that information became lost to his memory. Mr. Fitzpatrick's evidence was that when he had heard about Ricky's daughter, going missing, he went to Bathurst Police Station to report what he had seen. Police took his number and said they would call him, but when he had not been called, he went back into the police station and a detective spoke to him. He got the impression that police did not want to take a statement from him. Mr. Fitzpatrick's version of events is corroborated by some degree by two notes the police records made on the 28th of October 1997. No statement was taken from him until more than 10 years after Jessica's disappearance, upon the commencement of Strike Force Carica 2. So it took them a decade to speak to this man who may have witnessed literally maybe her being killed or restrained in the vehicle after it had left the original location. That is valuable information, super valuable. I mean, the fact that he had the license plate too, that is the key that we're missing in this particular case. We need the car. The police want that car because they want to forensically test it. The fact that he knew it and took mental note of it, but by the time he got back, he had misremembered or forgotten, and the fact that he wasn't formally interviewed until 10 years later may have broke this investigation. It may have broke it. Imagine if he was interviewed the day of it happening. This may have been a very shorter investigation. They may have been able to wrap this up in a couple of weeks and arrest someone. But no, unfortunately, uh, that information is now lost in Mr. Fitzpatrick's brain and may never surface again. It's very sad. Paddy L says, "G'day, Ping. G'day, mate. It's good to see ya." You can't believe he'd recall anything. I know. 10 years later, the fact he was even able to provide what he did is a testament to his memory. Great man. It's very nice of him. I just heard from Trish. She's doing okay. I spoke to her just then. Well, I spoke to her before the show, and then I got a reply. I hope she's doing okay. All right. So I don't know what you all think so far. I need a drink. Hold on. I've read so many bloody words. Give me a second. I need a drink. Sorry, as I got a drink, my microphone just fell into my lap. It broke off the off this, so now I'm holding it. Trish is doing okay. I emailed her before the show because she wasn't doing a show tonight, so I was worried about it. But she seems to be doing okay. Just thought I'd update you all that she's doing okay. All right, I want to have a little bit of a break into the evidence, but I'll finish this last bit from Mr. Fitzpatrick's evidence. Then I want to show you the reenactment from 60 Minutes. Okay. They say here the coroner says the somewhat extraordinary evidence of Mr. Fitzpatrick, a girl apparently screaming and struggling in a whitish car, possibly a Commodore, at a location close to where Jessica was abducted, at a time close to when she was reported being abducted, clearly suggests a connection between his observations and Jessica's disappearance. This may well have been the final sighting by any witness of Jessica with her abductor. It is beyond belief that Bathurst police chose not to take a full statement from Mr. Fitzpatrick in October 1997. If a statement had been taken, then it is far more likely he would have been able to recall helpful information as to the type of the car and possibly at least some of the details of the registration plate. A detailed statement at the time is likely to have assisted in solving the mystery of what occurred on that fateful morning. I agree. He may have been the person who could have solved the case 20 years ago, 25 years ago, 27 years ago. We'll get to that. We'll get to that. Yeah, she's doing a bit better. She says you should all support me and be nice to Ping because I'm amazing. Okay, she didn't really say that. I made that bit up. Yeah. I think she just had a long week. I think I don't want to say too much because my conversations with her are private. But I would just say I think she's just had a very long week. I think she's just just had a very busy week. Was from close. What do you mean? Oh, so so I can give you a little bit of context on that. The witness said they believe the plate may be a Queensland or Canberra license plate. Canberra is not particularly close, neither is Queensland. That's like saying you live in Oklahoma and the plate is from Kansas, or the plate could be from Texas. It's not really that close, but they're sort of like side by side, if that makes sense to you, if you're an American. So, or you live in Arizona and the plate is from California, or the plate is from New Mexico. So I hope that gives you a little bit of context to how that happened. They believe the person who is responsible for Jessica's death is possibly worked at the at the timber mill in Overton. So that is where they believe the suspect was working. Now, people who work in these type of jobs sometimes are transient themselves. They move around where the work is. So it may have been he traveled, the person who was responsible maybe traveled and worked there, or he picked up a car. People buy cars in between states all the time in Australia. Probably the same as when you guys in America do it. So you're like, oh, I really want a 1984, Chevrolet, but there's not one in my state. I live in Tennessee, but the only one I can find is from Mississippi. So I'm gonna have to buy it in Mississippi and drive it back or something. So that happens here too. So people would buy a car in Queensland, or they would travel and they move down, but they don't change the plates over. That happens quite frequently. No, I don't believe so. No. C. Taylor says, Nights with Pink Trisha is how I found you. Yeah, I'm very appreciative for everything she has done for me. I would not be a YouTuber without her. Without her guidance and help, there's no way I would be doing YouTube today. It is 90% from her guidance and some other people. There was people in the chat that really wanted it to happen, and between them and Trish, that was the sort of pushing me over the edge. Nanalana says, "Oh my gosh, he worked in the timber mill. That is not good. He could hide her beneath a ton of trees. Could have." So a year after she went missing, I think it was a year after. I'll check it for you in a second. Some period of time after she went missing, forestry workers in another location nearby found a blanket and women's underwear just lying under the tree growth and plants and things. They found women's underwear and a blanket. The police at the time didn't even really examine it. They just went, nah, that's got nothing to do with anything, and they just destroyed it. It was never tested, never DNA tested, never swabbed, nothing. Her parents weren't even told that this type of evidence was ever found until much later, and until they were told after it had been destroyed. Not before, not when it was found, only when it was destroyed. So you add possible, well, we don't know if it's related to her. It could not be. It could have been, hey, it could have been a girl on a prom night and her boyfriend went to the bush to, do the deed, and she lost her undies in the kerfuffle of, that type of thing. Happens frequently. The amount of times I've seen girls' undies everywhere, it's insane. If I if I had $1 for every time I seen a girl's pair of knickers on the ground somewhere, I'd probably have about $10. But you combine that with the not taking evidence from Mr. Fitzpatrick, who could have helped in identifying the car, and it's almost like throwing away evidence. That's the way it comes across. Could have. It could have been more than once. The police definitely dropped the ball at the start. The new police they've done a great job. They have been like a dog with a bone, and they have not let it go. They have worked very hard, and they have pushed multiple times for information, and tried to investigate, bring in new witnesses. They have bought and seized old white cars that were from Bathurst area, and they have forensically torn them apart looking for any sign of Jessica, but just so far haven't been able to locate the vehicle. Like they said, they believe it was probably unregistered, could have been stolen, and was in poor condition. So, and they don't believe it was a Holden now. They're just saying it was some sort of white car. What kind of white car? Don't know. Just some sort of white sedan that had 4 doors. All right, I'm going to try and find. I want to find the bit with the. I want to find the reenactment. I'm pretty sure it's this one. Just give me a second. Let me load this up. 2 minutes. Hold on, guys. Sorry about the dead air. I have to switch over to a different browser. Hold on. All right, here we go. This is a reenactment and statements from Vanessa. So Vanessa's her friend who was in the car with her. So you guys are going to get a sort of like visual replay of what happened that night. Here we go.
It's October 25, 1997, and best friends Jessica and Vanessa are enjoying a night out at the local amusement parlour. They leave around midnight.
There was a man asking about Jessica that night. One of the employees that used to work there has actually come forward. Believe it or not, he actually told this to the police the next day. And it turns out that this man was asking about Jess, saying things to the effect of, she looks like she's up for a good time.
So the car came along here. He was driving really quite slowly. He turned and looked at us, did a U-turn, came down here and pulled up just down here.
And you made a split-second decision to get in that car?
Yeah, and it's a decision I've regretted for the rest of my life.
Hey, how's your night been?
Yeah.
How's your video games?
He said to me, and your game's of pool.
Oh, how was your game of pool?
Yeah, good.
And then I put two and two together and I just said, oh, yeah, good. And didn't really think anything of it at the time. He offered us a lift and we decided to get in.
But a few minutes into the car trip, the girls start getting nervous. They're on a quiet country road on the edge of town, and the driver is agitated.
I remember he was driving quite slowly, and that kind of, put a little bit of fear into me.
For legal reasons, I have to stop it every now and then. I'm sorry about that. But as you can see, when you see it visually with the girls and Vanessa actually talking about it, I can describe it to you from the inquest documents, but hearing it from her is so much more chilling. And, the way they make it seem at the beginning, it was almost a friendly interaction, like, oh, how you ladies doing? And did you have fun tonight? Oh, yeah. Oh, you guys shouldn't be out here. Let me give you a lift back to wherever you want to go. It's late. And, yeah, I find her account chilling. I really do.
And I remember looking into the side mirror trying to see Jess in the back seat because I was really starting to get quite worried. He'd been looking side to side and he reached and took his seatbelt off.
Is that the point when you realised you were in real trouble?
Yeah, and he had turned the car off, turned to look at Jessica, and he said to her, "Right, come here."
Right, come here.
I don't think so.
And I just looked at him and said, "No, I don't think so." And he actually put his hand around my throat quite firmly and pushed me right back into the seat, and he was choking me. It was at this stage that Jess went to get out of the car. I managed to open my door. He realised he couldn't grab a hold of Jess, so he grabbed a hold of my hair, and I had to rip my hair out of his hands to get out of the car. And we're both running towards the house with the light on and just running and running and running. So we're both running and screaming, and I could hear her behind me and I could hear him behind me. And all I could think of was just get to the house with the light on.
Please, help me leave me here, please.
Was woken up by somebody hammering on my door and singing out. She was just shaking, white, very, very scared. I thought she was so scared that she might have even been going to be sick.
It was Faye Connor's door that Vanessa banged on.
You have to help me find my friend.
Was she making any sense when you first opened the door?
Not really. It was very hard to understand because all she kept saying was, my friend, I need you to help me find my friend. And we didn't realise what had happened, so we didn't know where her friend was.
By this time, the car with Jess inside was gone. Faye rang police, but they showed an astonishing lack of interest.
That interest that we that I've demonstrated to you through the Inquest records of just how bad that initial investigation was. It upsets me because I think I might not be here today talking about it had a sufficient investigation been launched at the start right now, at this point in the video. If they had done a full blanket of the area, started, cutting off streets, interviewing cars, trying to pull people over, maybe a roadblock in town, try and trap this guy within the city and then just, hunt him down. Bathurst is not that big. It's not like you're doing it in Sydney. Sydney would be very, very hard, but they have done things like that in Sydney. This is a regional town. You could probably cut him off through arterial, something like that, and it wasn't done, allowing him to escape with Jessica to where? Well, we don't know. No one knows except for him. He's the only one who knows where she is. And I feel like if we had taken these witness statements a lot earlier and done that investigation, maybe we'd already know what happened to Jess.
It would be the first of many police errors.
You'd like to think that if they had have believed her and got more cars out and more police out, that they would have been able to do a bit more.
So why do you think the police didn't believe you?
I think because Jess and I were, troubled teens and we, been in a little bit of trouble. And
so some man has Jess doing God knows what to her, and you say the police weren't overly concerned?
Not at all. Not even a little bit. They outright told me I was lying.
Coming up, Jess is missing.
I could tell something was really wrong. Really wrong.
But police do nothing. Now, the crucial witness.
It was like a fear, sort of, like when she come past.
All right, I have to stop it there. By the way, that was Ricky. That's Jess's mum that you would have seen back here. I can show you a little bit from her. Can we go back to Ricky? That's not Ricky. That's Ricky. This is Ricky here. This is her mum. This lady here is her mother. Unfortunately, I tried to reach out to Ricky to come on the show tonight and have a chat to you guys, but I was unable to find a private way of talking to her. Maybe she doesn't want to be contacted, and that's understandable. I get that. She's probably talking to so many bloody media. I'm sure she's probably like, find my daughter and leave me alone. So I understand. Should anyone want to reach out and talk about Jess in a positive light or anything, I'll put my email in chat. This is my email here, sundaywithping@gmail.com. All my communications are confidential. I've spoken to many victims' families, and I've never once reported anything I've ever spoken to any of them on my shows. I've always kept whatever they've asked me to keep private because their trust is more important than a stupid YouTube show. So, all right. Let's watch a little bit more. I would like to show you this bit from this witness if I can get up to it.
Is fighting for her life.
It was like a fear, sort of, like when she come past screaming, you could hear the screaming coming, the fear in someone.
Rob Fitzpatrick lived on the edge of town. In the early hours of Sunday morning, he'd just returned home from his cousin's wedding.
When the car come past, I seen the white car, but a figure of a man driving, but a hand coming over from the driver's right hand shoulder, hanging out the window. It was like she was fighting or something, or hitting him or something like that. Like a panic trying to get out of a window. My best way, trying to get out of the window itself. I thought it was a domestic or something like that. Two people arguing and fighting. You know better to jump into domestics than that.
Rob crept along his fence line out of sight and got to within 15 or 20 metres of the car. It was a white Holden Commodore.
So,
did you still hear the screams at this point?
No, the screaming had stopped. I watched him get out of the car, walk around to his boot and get something out of his boot. He's kneeling on the seat and reached over the back and he was doing something in the seat. And as I'm watching, he just drove off casual. He weren't even on the parked off the road. He just drove up straight up the hill.
And what's beyond that?
Darkness. There's not much out there. If anyone, you could scream as much as you want, no one will hear you out there.
All these years later, and there's still not much out there. You can see that drone view from where they were standing. After Mr. Fitzpatrick saw the car leave, it went in that direction. There's nothing out there. It's Australian wilderness and bushland. That's about it. Maybe a couple more houses have popped up over the years now on blocks of land. But Australia is a vast country when you get out of the city kind of areas like Sydney, Melbourne, Adelaide, Brisbane, that type of thing, Perth. Once you start getting out into the, the red dirt and the bushland, no, you could scream and throw accusations about whatever you want for hours, and no one would probably ever hear you. Yeah, it is a vast country outside of the cities. I don't think I think when people come here for the first time to Australia, they're shocked at how open it is once you get out of the city. Once you get out of the city, it's so undeveloped in places. Like, it's not like America where you have 33 million people living in like Tennessee or more than that. Some of these towns have 100,000 people, maybe less, and that's not a great deal of people. It's a very small amount of people for such a large area. So, Rachel says, my heart breaks for her friend. She just has to feel terrible, and now I'd be so angry they didn't listen. I feel like not only is Jessica's life probably gone and it affected her family and stuff and everyone associated, including Vanessa, but I feel Vanessa's life may have been left to sort of, she's in this terrible kind of like horror story for the rest of her life. She can't escape it. It happened to her, but because they can't find Jessica, that's it. Like, she still has to relive it and be a part of it and keep bringing it up. It's like she could never sort of leave that behind because it's open-ended. There is no solution right now. That's why it's so important. Even if people like me, I got a small YouTube channel, but the more we talk about it, the more we make it common knowledge, the more people hear about it, and the more people know her story. Maybe, just maybe, we can find that tiny bit of information that we need. I hope so anyway. I really do. Marlene says 98% of the people live in the major cities. Yes. And they're all sort of on the coast of Australia. So actually, I think it's like the majority of people in Australia actually live on the east coast. So where I'm on the eastern seaboard, so is everyone. Majority of the country lives on the eastern side. On the western side, we have where we have Western Australia and the Northern Territory and stuff like that. But their population is much smaller than the eastern. Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane makes up like 80% of our population. I don't know. I don't know if I've ever seen a sketch of the guy. I don't think so. I don't think, or if they, well, I'm going to guess no. I'm going to guess no because they never did an original investigation. So there would be no one to do a sketch. And even if they did it 10 years later with her, who's to say it's even correct? When victims of crime and it happens to them, sometimes, not all times, but sometimes the memory is so scary and so traumatic that it almost morphs for them. So one, their body wants them to forget it, their mind wants them to forget what happened to them, so they lock it away. But it sort of morphs as well. They don't want to perfectly relive it, if that makes sense. So I'm not even sure if it would be useful. I think she gave a description. I just never seen one. Rachel said that's shocking that they didn't have her do a sketch. I don't think I've ever seen one. Let me see. There might have been a basic one done actually. This one, but it's not very good. I'm not saying she did something wrong. I'm just saying I don't think it's very good. Where is it? Hold on, I'm just trying to track it down for you. Actually, I don't know if they did. I think this might be a different case. Yeah, I think this is a different case. Sorry. No, I don't believe so. But here's sort of the vehicle they're looking for. Although, please be understanding, they don't think it's a Commodore anymore. Just something that looks roughly like this, a white car. So this kind of era, this kind of like styling, but it may not be a Commodore, if that makes sense. Yeah, I get it. Hey, what is going on with this? Sorry guys, I'm trying to fix this this little thing. There we go. Yeah, all right, let's go back to the let's watch the last little bit of this interview. Let me just check if it's got any more. Okay, there we go.
And went back the following day. And this time, they reluctantly took his statement. Just one paragraph.
But the whole time, I got the feeling like he didn't want to take the statement. Like he's already made up his mind what was going on.
Do you think they didn't care because Jessica was known to them? She was a girl from the wrong side of the tracks?
Yes, I'd say that. My feeling is if her family was more important in the town, it would have been a whole different investigation.
You know, that they were crucial moments. That first day or two, to me. We have to get to her. We have to find her. Please help me. We've got to find her. And you don't know where to look, where to go. And I'm just praying, I guess at that point, that I had some smart policemen on the job because I had nothing else.
Did you think in those first few days that she was alive?
I think I tried to imagine that she would be strong enough to get away from.
It's very hard hearing her mum, you know. I think her mum regrets a lot of things she's done in her life. And, you know, I also don't know what it would be like to. Look, I don't know if she was an alcoholic or not. I just know that there was a lot of stories about her being at the pub. But if you grew up in this type of region at that time, I am not like it was not uncommon. Like this was sort of what people did, unfortunately. That you know that was their sort of release. They went to the pub, they spent a lot of money, they drank a lot. It's just sort of like the Australian lifestyle that has changed over the last 3 decades. The whole like we get pissed every night and you know put a shrimp on the barbie, that type of thing. That type of thing's sort of been wound back a lot over the last couple of decades, and people live slightly different lives. Although in country areas, it's still a thing. But you know, I think she just feels so guilty. You can see it when she talks. It's very sad. Oh, so hey, retired Aaron. Retired Aaron said if they were in the back seat, no, only one of them was in the back seat, and it was dark. She may not be able to give much of a description. Well, they saw the car pulled up and spoke to them at the start of their interaction. So Jessica went up and personally spoke to him, but they were very close. Like they were just sitting on the curb, so she would have seen the guy. Like if you know what I mean. Like the car pulled up, they were just on the sidewalk. They both would have seen the perpetrator. How well, I don't know, but you might be right that also in a panic, when you're in a panic, you know something really bad is happening. The last thing you like is like he was 6'3" and he had dark hair and a tattoo of a dragon on his foot. Like that's not what you're thinking. You're thinking is how the hell do I get out of here and get away? And how do I save my friend? Like that's it. There's not like, you know, oh my god, he was wearing contacts that made him have green eyes and he had a tail. He had a tail. I swear he had a tail. Like that's not, you know, it's not the first thing you think of. Your first thing is survival. And I don't blame her one bit. That poor girl. Oh, it's broken unfortunately. This thing, unfortunately. I've been fixing it on and off for months. I put new bolts in it and new screws and stuff, and It keeps falling apart. Diane Marie says that's what I'm thinking. Well, it was them. It was a mixture of witness statements. So it was the people at the arcade. They saw a man. They believe it's one of two men. They gave a approximate description and what they look like. Vanessa probably gave her input and her statement, and then we had other people like Mr. Fitzpatrick and other witnesses. They interviewed like hundreds of people. I can't remember how many, but it was a lot of people. Hey Yuda, how are you? All right.
From a situation, but obviously she wasn't.
Eight months after Jessica vanished, two forestry workers stumbled across a set of girls' underwear, a bottle of bleach, and a blanket covered in blood. They'd been dumped in bushland about 75 kilometres east of Bathurst. This isolated forest possibly held the most important clue to identifying Jessica's killer.
So that's the blanket and the underwear. I actually didn't know about the bleach, but there you go. Bleach, female underwear, and a blanket covered in blood. And it was never properly examined. It's almost criminal. It really is. It's almost criminal to let that evidence go. It's unthinkable that they wouldn't just store it in evidence against her file for, a later time to be looked at, at some point. It really is haphazard and horrid. I mean, it feels like there's been so many opportunities that are just outside of the grasp of police, investigators, other people, like to get this guy. And each time it's like something happens and it slips through the fingers when it shouldn't. It shouldn't. It should have been solved by now. It is. And whoever was running command at that point should be reprimanded, even in retirement. They should be called to give evidence to the coroner and the state commission, because it really is neglectful. I agree. I always try to do as best as I can to do both sides of policing, when they do a great job and when they do a crap job. And I always try and do both, because I feel like it's the only fair way to do it. Because sometimes they do a great job, sometimes they don't do such a good job, and it's not fair to only show one side of it. Unfortunately, in this particular case, it's a negative, but there is a ray of hope. The investigators with Corsica 2 have done a great job. They've done a very, very good job, and that is the ray of hope here. Although it would have been better to happen in 1997. Wendy says the police must have thought they had better things to do. I think part of it was the family was sort of stigmatized in town due to their lifestyle and things like that. And I think there was the police looked down upon them a little bit. They really did. And I think if they were from like a rich white, family that was well known and, were part of the sporting club, and, dad was like the manager of the real estate in town, they would have taken it very differently. And I guarantee you there would have been a very different investigation. Yeah, I have heard this rumor. I've heard a rumor in relation to this case that the police know exactly who the guy is, and they chose not to investigate. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. But it is a persistent rumor that keeps coming up, and I don't know where it comes from, but it is often associated with Jessica's case. That it seems so odd to not investigate when you have a girl breaking down outside of a house, then you don't start a abduction investigation. You don't take evidence that looks like it came from a crime scene, bleach, blood on a blanket, and female underwear after you have a missing girl. It all seems very bizarre. And I don't know. I have heard this rumor. I don't know where it comes from, though. I've tried tracking it down, but I don't know where it originated. I suspect people in town have been talking about it for many years, and eventually it leaked out to the wider internet through conversations people that live there have had. Wendy asked, would the perp be a son of someone important? I know things like that happen in the town I grew up in. It's possible. Yeah, it's anything's possible. Anything is possible. There are two men who have been unable to be excluded as persons of interest, and I will talk about them in a minute. I'm trying to rush through it a little bit because we've already been on the air about an hour and 45 minutes. Wow. This has been one of the longest single story videos I've ever done. I don't think I've ever talked about one topic for almost an entire video before, except for Barry and Honey. Paddy L said, the way things are these days, you could suspect a cop for the crime also. I don't want to bash cops too much in this as such. I'm happy to attack the original investigation, but I'm not sure if it was a cop. I wouldn't have thought so, because the police station back then was not massive, and the rank and file command was not that big. I would have suspected they would have known if it was one of their own. I'm not sure, but this is not like an LA police station where you have 400 cops. This is more like a country town where you might have 15. So, or country town. Yeah, inland regional city is what I'm calling it. It could be. So I can show you a little bit from the inquest. There are two men who they were unable to remove from the investigation. Give me a second, guys. Yeah. Yeah. I'll read you this bit too. So Diane Edmonds gave evidence that on the 27th of October 1997, she contacted Bathurst police as she had observed the taillights of a car going down the bush track that leads to a creek opposite her house. At the time, she lived at Stratford Cottage at O'Connell on the road between Bathurst and Oberon. In the time that she had lived there, she had never seen a vehicle using that track. She could not determine what type of car or make of car it was, but was concerned that it might be young kids drinking and partying. Police records indicate that a call was made by her. Despite this, no statement was ever taken from her until May 2012. It should be noted that the police attached to Strikeforce Carica 2, after taking over the investigation in late 2007, regarded her evidence as so significant that they arranged for a reenactment of the car traveling down the bush track and eventually engaged excavation equipment to dig up the creek area in the hope of finding some evidence of Jessica. Nothing relevant was ever found in that location. And then there was another witness here. Miss Kayla Brian was just 11 years old when Jessica disappeared on 29th of October 1997. She and her mother made a report to Bathurst police about Kayla being approached by a man in the Bathurst in the streets of the town on October 25th, 1997. She had been staying with her dad at the time and had been very scared and only reported the incident to her mother when she had come to pick her up from an access visit. Her mother made her report it to the police, realizing its significance after hearing of Jessica's disappearance. So there was a young girl, 11 years old, who was approached by a man not too far away from where Jessica was abducted a couple of days beforehand. And this guy made her feel so uncomfortable that she couldn't tell her own father and waited until mum picked her up and then she mentioned it. Guys, hold on. Sorry about that. We had something fall. I had to go see what it was. Was a Holden a small car? So no, a Holden is a GM. So if you're an American, it's a GM, General Motors, and it is no, like a big sedan. So imagine, I don't know what model it would be in the USA, but imagine like one of those really big four-door sedans from GM in the 90s. Something like that. The best description came from the guy at the arcade. He was the manager, I think, or the owner. Yeah, he had a very good description. Sorry, let's go back to this. I am sorry about the break in the thing. I thought one of the cats had hurt themselves. Um, yeah, so that girl, she reported a weird guy approaching her just a couple of days beforehand. And then in 1998, some items of clothing were found by forestry workers in the Jenolan State Forest near Oberon. They included a blanket and various items of women's underwear. These items were given a preliminary examination about 12 months later and then were destroyed. Despite their possible significance to the Jessica Small case, it appears that no serious investigation was conducted to determine whether they may have been linked to her. Indeed, Jessica's family were not even informed about the items until after they had been destroyed. While it is not possible to conclude that the items were connected with her, it is surprising that no proper consideration seems to have been given to this possibility. So they had 4 options at the inquest, and it was: did Jessica take her own life? Did Jessica die of a drug overdose? Did Jessica run away? And finally, was Jessica murdered? For various reasons, they were able to discount the first 3. The fourth one was the conclusion that they reached at this inquest, that they believed none of these fit any of the evidence given by any of the witnesses, and that they believed that Jessica was abducted and murdered shortly or after she was last seen. They said here the brief of evidence gathered by police spans over 11 volumes of material and contains various theories and rumors that have been advanced over the years to explain her disappearance. Yeah, no, I'm not gonna. This is all just stuff why it wasn't those other 3. It's not really like super important to read. Just that it doesn't add up, basically. So the only possibility is that she was abducted and murdered. So these 2 men have never been able to be excluded. They say, well, at the time of the inquest, they say, I do not intend to traverse the evidence in detail in relation to either Mr. McBride or Mr. Robertson. This was canvassed by a counsel assisting in submissions on the final day of the hearing. It is clear in summary that both were possibly in the Oberon-Bathurst region around the time of Jessica's disappearance and had both worked at the Oberon timber mill. They fit the general description given by various witnesses who described an older man at the arcade on the 25th of October, 1997. Possibly left the region just after Jessica disappeared. Possibly had access to a white Holden Commodore. Had a predilection for younger looking women in the case of Mr. Robertson, or teenage girls in the case of Mr. McBride. Had a history of violence towards women, and cannot provide any clear evidence or alibi as to where they were the night Jessica disappeared. An inquest such as this has the ability to either incubate or basically rule someone in or rule someone out of the investigation. They say, however, in this case, there is no direct evidence linking either Mr. McBride or Mr. Robertson to Jessica's disappearance. The converse is also true. There is also no evidence to eliminate them as persons of interest. They note at this point in the submission, Mr. Butterfield, counsel for Mr. McBride, has records of a bank transaction that his client made a deposit at the Frenchs Forest branch of Westpac Bank on Friday, the 24th of October, 1997, 3 days before this disappearance took place. They say it would tend to indicate that he was not in the vicinity at the time. The coroner says, I agree that the deposit was made, and it was likely made in person as a special clearance was made on the check. However, those bank records also indicate Mr. McBride made constant trips between Sydney and Oberon on the regular basis. Accordingly, I cannot be satisfied without direct evidence to the contrary that he did not make another trip that weekend to the Oberon or Bathurst area. Accordingly, Mr. Bride remains a person of interest. In their conclusion, Jessica Small went missing in circumstances that indicate she was abducted, her abduction being witnessed by her friend Vanessa. Unfortunately, her disappearance and suspected murder did not receive the attention it deserved until the formation of Strike Force Karaka 2 in late 2007 under the guidance and direction of Detective Sergeant Peter Smith. The inadequacies of the initial investigation, which I have detailed in these findings, have, in my view, hampered the ability of those who did ultimately properly investigate. Jessica's disappearance from being able to come to any conclusion as to who was responsible for her death and disappearance. It is quite simply an indictment on those initial investigating detectives in the days and weeks following her abduction that their assumptions and prejudices compromise the investigation, cause immeasurable additional distress and hurt to the family of Jessica, and may have put other future lives at risk. Hopefully, lessons will be learned and other families do not have to go through the same distress as Ricky, Rebecca, and Vanessa in the future. Accordingly, I now turn the findings that I'm required to make pursuant to Section 81 of the Coroner's Act 2009. They say Jessica Beth Small died on or after the 26th of October 1997. Her death is suspicious, and I am satisfied that she died at the hands of a person or persons unknown. I refer the matter back to the Unsolved Homicide Squad. So the coroner basically saying, in their opinion, she has been abducted and murdered, and now it is up to the Homicide Squad to figure it out and close the case and find out who did it. So these are inquests and what we call a coroner's court. So a coroner's court is used to find the truth. Oftentimes it can be unsolved cases or cases where an arrest has not been made, but there are murkiness about the case, and it's often used to compel witnesses to come forward and give evidence under oath. So you come forward if you're requested to by the coroner, and you are to speak in front of the court. And if you do not, you can be jailed for lying to the court or not. You can so basically you must give your evidence, and if you do not or refuse to, or you give evidence that's not compelling, the coroner can sentence you or refer you for charges because you're not being truthful and you're not a good witness and you're not helping in finding out what happened to whoever it is that is they're investigating. So it's used as an investigative tool, but also a way to find the truth in certain cases. What does it do? It just helps the families and the investigators a little bit. It helps the families know and hear from people who maybe haven't spoken before or have only spoken in private to police or whatever. It helps gives answers to the family. So you get a report like what we went through tonight, and this gives everything they heard throughout the entire hearing. So it sort of just winds everything up into one thing, and it gives a wide overview and the coroner can do a few different things. They can change a manner of death. They can refer it for charges. They can say this person is the only suspect. They are the most likely person to have killed X, Y, and Z. They can do that. They can refer it back to the homicide squad, or they can close it as well and say, "Hey, I believe this person committed, they left this world voluntarily. So there's no point in investigating any further. So I recommend this case be closed." So they can do a few different things. They're often used for either murders, S word, can be used for R word and SA, sometimes used for events. So an example I can give you is, say a fire was on, like a house caught on fire and it killed a bunch of people, but no one understands why it happened or who might have set the fire. They might investigate something like that at a coroner's court. So it's just to try and find the truth. Patty L says, if the police are that biased or they think they are, they need a new chief of police. It's horrible and shameful that they're that inept. The command that was there in 1997 is no longer there. It is a new investigative team. Corsica 2 is a completely different investigative group, and they are doing a very good job. They are trying very hard to solve this, along with the New South Wales Crime Commission. They are each putting as much pressure as they can to try and get this done. So I think it's considered an unsolved homicide. Yeah. I'm not sure I've ever heard of any retrofit or anything like that being given out to anyone. That's okay. I know in America and you guys don't really have it. In the UK they do. In the UK they have coroner's court too, but in the UK it works slightly differently. So I can give you an example. A few months ago, we had that terrible event where a person walked into a dance studio and stabbed all the little children. Do you remember that? It was the Taylor Swift dance studio one. Like a couple of days after that, the police had already referred it to the coroner's court in England, and they adjourned it. So they adjourned it till much later, like next year. So their coroner's court works slightly different to Australia. Australia's one, it's normally done via referral. So if a family pushes for it or the police think it's needed, they'll ask the coroner to take on the case and open an inquest. So it works slightly different between the UK and Australia. Patty L says, in the USA, also, if a person wasn't terminally ill or hasn't been seen by a doctor in a really long time, the coroner usually orders an autopsy for cause of death. Yeah, so coroner is just used slightly different. The coroner's court is not a medical examiner. It sort of is, but it's not. It's more like a court. So the way I would describe it to you is, imagine an investigative court. So normally we think of court as, a person versus, the state or whatever. Like they want to prosecute someone based on a crime. Don't think of it like that. Think of it like this is a court for investigative, like what they have in evidence now. So they listen to everyone. They go through all the evidence, everything they can find, and they try and look for, like, what is the most probable, what happened to this person? What is the most probable cause? And that is the coroner's determination based on the evidence and the witness statements. So that's sort of how it works. It's like an investigative court. Yes, the coroner has an investigative team. Trisha does say that on her show about you. About what? I'm not sure what we're talking about, Tharvi. Maybe Tharvi's behind. I don't know what she's talking about. Yeah, so that is the that is the story of Jessica Small. I really hope this was interesting for you. I don't do a lot of one topic shows. Normally, we do like a spread of information from the day, but I felt compelled after hearing the steps the New South Wales Crime Commission was going to trying to solve Jessica's case. I felt compelled to do a single show with mostly just for her and her mum Ricky. You know, I feel like we're this close, like literally this close. I feel like we just need one person because they already had some new information come through, but they're saying it's not quite enough. They need some more people to corroborate it or give more. They just need some more. So again, I'm going to put this up. Police still have $1 million reward for information in Jessica's presumed murder and abduction. Anyone with information may assist. Strikeforce Character 2 is urged to contact Crime Stoppers on 1-800-333-000 or go to newsouthwales.crimestoppers.com.au. And secondly, the New South Wales Crime Commission Director of Criminal Investigations has urged anyone with information who does not feel comfortable calling Crime Stoppers to ring his personal mobile phone. And it's Haney Albertori, can be contacted on 0479 187 202. And there's some photos of Jessica, by the way. Apparently, when she came back to Bathurst after going to Orange, she didn't look quite like this anymore. She had sort of this, I don't know what kind of hairstyle that is for a girl, sort of like a bob that's sort of very popular in the 90s. I know that a lot of girls when I was growing up had it. She had cut her hair very short. I don't know how short, but shorter than this, apparently. So if you have any information, contact 1-800-333-000. You can remain anonymous if you call that number. You can also contact Albertori on 0479 187 202 and help the family, help her mum get answers before it's too late. I'm not saying her mum's going to like die tomorrow or anything, but you know, every day that goes by, her mum gets a little older, right? And I think she would just love to know where her daughter is and to give her a proper, you know, a proper burial and have somewhere to go see her and, you know, be with her and stuff like that. Instead of, we don't know where she is. She could be out in any state forest anywhere. Anywhere surrounding the area, could be 200 miles away. Who knows? Someone knows. And they need to call that number. Gayla says, I think she did look older than 15. A little bit. I agree. Marlene Clausen said, very interesting and a sad story. Oh, her last name. Did we not use it a bunch? Hold on. I can tell you her full name. Her middle name is Beth. So hold on. I'll put it in the thing. I don't know why I didn't do that. Her name is Jessica Beth Small. So small, like, you know, like small. Jessica Beth Small here. I probably should have had it on the banner throughout the show. Sorry about that. There you go. Jessica Beth Small. That's her full name. I found this really not like, this is a photo I found from her mum. If I can upload it. No, not that one. Let's see if I've got it. Is it this one? Yeah, this is very personal. So just understand this is from her mum. Please be respectful. So this is a cross, and I'm not sure where this was taken, and I'm not sure if this is the last point of where someone saw her. It sort of looks like it, but I'm not sure. But there's a cross with her name, a bunch of other things, some nice flowers. She posted this on the anniversary a few weeks ago, so it's one point she has to go for her daughter. Yeah, small like little. like little, like SMALL. That's what I was thinking, the last known point, or like the last sighting of her. So I thought it might be on the second road, the one where the guy witnessed the car, but it could be on the other one near the friend's house as well. I'd have to ask her mum. I'm not sure. I will try again to get in contact with Ricky. I just don't know if she's interested or not. She may not be, and that's okay. You know, I'm not here to harass victims' families or anything like that. I don't want to do that. I would, you know. So I normally have a rule. I don't reach out to victims' families. I don't do that because they're already going through enough. They don't need some stupid YouTube person contacting them. So I don't like doing that. Yeah, it is really pretty, isn't it? I like that. That's why I wanted to show you all. It's really nice memorial for her. I hope one day we'll be able to move this cross with the heart on it and actually take it to her resting place in a proper cemetery or wherever they would like to bury her. But I hope one day it can go to where she really is resting. That would be lovely. I'd love to see this like moved to where she actually is. It is very nice. What about Vanessa? I don't know what she's up to these days. I hope she's found a way to deal with her survivor's guilt. I don't know how to contact her, and I mean I can try and look her up. I'm not sure if she's even like I have a funny feeling 60 Minutes had to basically drag her there, and she may feel like she's said her thing publicly, like on TV, and that like she doesn't want to do anymore. Like she's done it once. I've done enough. I would like to, you know, stay private. So I can try. I just feels a little awkward to try and reach out to her. You know, that girl has every right in the world to not ever talk about it again if she doesn't want to. If she would love to try and find some normality, I get it. I don't know how you do, but yeah, I think that would be maybe a step too far to try and reach out to her. You know, I reckon you'd have such bad survivor's guilt, and she must struggle with that thought every day. Like she was just there. I heard her, I felt her behind me running, and then all of a sudden she wasn't there. That must be like an internal struggle every day for that woman to have to deal with that feeling. Like, why did I get away? Why was it me? Why wasn't it her? And did I do enough? Should I have gone back for her? You know, all those questions must constantly flood her brain every time she hears about her friend. So I will contact Ricky and I'll let her know this video is up. And if she wants to review it or add anything, or if she wants me to change anything, I'm happy to do so. You know, not here to piss anyone off or you know, upset victims' families. I want someone to call those numbers. That's what I want. I want to see on the news that someone has called in, contacted these numbers, and someone has been arrested for, because like I said at the start of the show, there is a predator out there. You can't tell me that this is not a typical predation attack. It's what it is. Tried to take not one but two young women or teenagers and tried to abduct them, both of them. That's not a you know, that's not a mistake. That's not a once off. That's someone who's very confident in their abilities to take a young girl, almost like they'd done it before. Because I can't imagine you just go out on a Friday night and go, yes, what I'd like to do tonight, I'd like to take two 15-year-olds from the side of the road and essay them. I did one last week, but tonight I'd like two. One wasn't enough. I'd like to have two. I don't think that would be their first time. Something tells me this guy has done this before. Hey, Video Reel. Good to see you. Good to see you. I hope you're keeping all right. Yeah, I don't think this guy was a once off. 100%. I agree with you. All right. I hope you all enjoyed it. I really, well, not enjoyed it. That's not the right word. I hope you all found it interesting, and I'm sorry it wasn't very American centric tonight, but I'd never done this story, so I thought it would be a good one, especially with the renewed push for information from not just the New South Wales Police and Corsica too, but also from the New South Wales Crime Commission. It seems like there is a renewed focus on trying to finish this and get it across the legal goal line to arrest and hold someone accountable. But like you heard, not all hope is lost, and there is at least two people who they have been unable to discount and remove from the investigation. So we'll see. Doesn't mean it is them. By the way, I have to legally say that. It doesn't mean it is them. It just means they've been unable to be removed from contention or person of interest. They're not suspects. They're persons of interest. It's different. So we don't know yet. The truth always finds a way of surfacing eventually. Thank you. I appreciate you all. Is your birthday today? Happy birthday, Video Reel. Congratulations on turning 21. It must be a great time in your life, and I'm so happy for for your big your big milestone birthday. Must be great turning. You can drink a beer, you can have a lot of fun. You could hire a car. Yuda says happy birthday. That's right. Happy birthday, Video Reel. I hope you're having a great birthday. Wendy R says I'm actually home to listen. I hope you listen tonight, my friend. Thank you so much for being such a great supporter of my channel. I really appreciate it. That's right. Happy birthday. What I really need is I need people to check their subscription thing. We had another purge of that thing where YouTube unsubscribes people for no reason. We had another bunch of them, and this time it was the biggest one I've ever seen on my account. My analytics are telling me it was like 57 people were unsubscribed in like one day or something. And I was like, wow, I've never had that in a year and a half of doing my channel. I've had, two people here and a person there, and someone thinks I'm crap, so they unsubscribe. Sure. But 57 people or something, it was very odd. So I think that they're turning people's subscriptions off again. So please check your subscription status. If you're new here, consider subscribing. It would really help. I'd love to get out of this like 1,000 bracket and up into the 2,000 area early next year. So I'd really appreciate if people could subscribe for more content like this. And let me know, did you enjoy, not enjoy, did you find it interesting? I keep saying that. Did you find tonight's show better, interesting? Did you like the one topic type of conversation? You will have to let me know. I have one story we're going to end with tonight. And I want to talk about it because Carla wants me to talk about it. So I'll do it for my friend Carla. And I feel kind of bad. I kind of jumped all over an idea yesterday that she had, which I didn't mean to. I didn't mean to sound as mean as it did. I meant to be like more, it was supposed to be like more like I was joking with her, but she may have taken it or other people may have taken it the wrong way, but I was just mucking around. But it's Ryan Borgward. Is that how you say his name? Borgward. All right, Mr. Borgward. You remember him? He has an Eastern European girlfriend, and apparently he's been found alive. I'm gonna just get a yeah. We can do this one. I have to check because we're not allowed to use anything from a certain station. Just give me 1 second. Who owns this? I don't know if we're allowed to use that one. Sure. All right, I think we can use that one. Give me 1 second, ladies and gents. Hold on, 24 hours. No? Okay. Sorry, our links are not working. What is going on? That's very strange. All right. We'll have to use this one then. So what is it? Green Lake County Sheriff. Okay, guys. Sorry, I'm just trying to get a proper video. There's a company we can't use. It's called Sinclair, and I can't use anything from Sinclair. And it so happens to be anywhere in the Green Bay sort of Wisconsin area. It's all owned by Sinclair. Oh my god, this is terrible. Apparently he's sideways.
Why we had stopped the search on Green Lake, and that while we might have stopped the search on Green Lake, that didn't stop our search continuing to look for life. At this time, I just want to express my thanks. Yes, I'm up here by myself. The other ones had a lot going on. But I want to express my thanks to the Wisconsin Department of Criminal Investigations, the FBI, MOCIC, Homeland Security, the Brown County Sheriff's Office, and especially Bruce's Legacy and Charlie DeGroot, who is our dive expert that came in. There are a couple of questions that have been asked repeatedly through the last couple of weeks that I would like to address. The first, potential charges. There was a lot of concern, and the information that the Green Lake County has at this point leads us to an obstructing charge. What he did on the lake, staging his death. I cannot comment on the federal charges that may or may not be filed through our federal partners. The second one, and one of the big, most important one, was regarding the amount.
All right, that's annoying. I found a better one. It's all right. We'll go to CNN.
Good evening. It's Ryan Borgart. I'm in my apartment. I am safe, secure, no problem.
Ryan Borgart speaking barely above a whisper in this video he says was recorded November 11th. These are his first comments since disappearing in August. Police now believe the husband and father of 3 is alive and living in Eastern Europe with no plans to come back to the U.S. Though Green Lake, Wisconsin Sheriff Mark Podol says Borgart talks to investigators regularly.
Our biggest concern that we had was if he was safe and well. We asked him a number of questions that pertain to him and his family that he would only know. And then we asked him for a video of himself.
The search for Borgart began this summer after he failed to return home from a day of kayaking and fishing. Law enforcement found his capsized kayak, car, and other belongings, but no trace of him.
While we might have stopped.
So they figured out after scanning the lake for so long and looking in the surrounding areas, they'd actually figured out that he skipped town and went to like Eastern Europe. It's like Kazakhstan or something like that. I have to look up the town. And he to a girlfriend over there. Anyway, now you've seen his proof of life video, and he left a lovely relationship with a woman back in Wisconsin, just bailed on her and took off. But they said, should he ever come back to the US, they are going to charge him and also make him pay back the money for the giant search effort that they undertook looking for him on the lake. Apparently, it cost around $80,000 to do that search effort, and it's considered a waste of police resources when he wasn't genuinely missing. So, yeah. Over a woman, yep. He has a Eastern European girlfriend. He is a legend in his own lunchtime. I was trying to find the bit with where the girlfriend is. Hold on. Let me grab this. It's a television serving the market. Okay. So I'll try find the updated article for you. Yeah, so here we go. I can take you to this article on CNN as well. They say Ryan Borgard is a Wisconsin kayaker accused of faking his own drowning and fleeing the country, and is apparently alive somewhere in Eastern Europe and has been talking to investigators, officials said, but it's still unclear whether he will ever return home to his wife and 3 children. They say, great news, we know that he's alive and well. The bad news is we don't know where exactly Ryan is, and he has not yet decided to return home. The 44-year-old was reported missing on August 12th after failing to come back from a fishing trip on Green Lake, about an hour north of his home of Watertown, Wisconsin. A massive 7-week effort to scour the bottom of the lake turned up no sign of him, and officials began uncovering evidence he had fled to Europe via Canada. Investigators finally made contact with him on November 11 and have been communicating with him almost daily. He has still not spoken to his family. In a video sent to officials last week, he appeared in a nondescript room and said, I am in my apartment. I am safe, secure, no problem. They say he told investigators he executed his plan by stashing an electric bike near the lake's boat launch, then paddling into the water on a kayak and a child-sized inflatable boat. He then overturned his kayak, tossed his phone into the lake, and paddled back to shore in the inflatable boat. Once ashore, he rode his bicycle through the night about 80 miles to Madison, where he boarded a bus to Detroit. Wow, he would have smelt really bad. You cycle 80 miles? I hate to be his seatmate on the bus. He would have smelt terrible. They said he boarded that bus to Detroit. He eventually crossed the Canadian border and boarded a flight to Europe. Noting investigators are still trying to verify his story and about how he got across the Canadian border. Before his disappearance, he had transferred funds to a foreign bank account, changed his email, and communicated with a woman in Uzbekistan. According to the investigators, they were ultimately able to contact him through a Russian-speaking woman, though he declined to say whether she was the woman he had been communicating with in Uzbekistan. And whether he is still with her or not, or is that his girlfriend, he won't verify to investigators. In January, he took out a $375,000 life insurance policy, which investigators said was intended to help his family. Investigators still have not shared what may have motivated the father to abandon his family and everything he knew, although investigators said he did it for a number of reasons. Interesting. Apparently, yeah. If he returns home, he'll be charged with obstruction of justice. The county will also be seeking up to $40,000 of restitution to compensate for the search, including equipment and wages. Apparently, he told investigators that he thought they would stop searching for him after about 2 weeks. He chose Green Lake in part because it is the deepest natural lake in Wisconsin. The sheriff says he picked the wrong sheriff and the wrong department because they ain't going to give up. They say his family is very emotional after the whiplashing between mourning him and coming to terms with the idea that he may have abandoned them. He expressed concerns that if he does come back, it's going to be hard to live and that no one will accept him. But the community has stated before that they're willing to forgive. The family has told authorities they want him to return home, and officials have been begging him to come back to US soil. They say the sheriff said, Christmas is coming, and what a better gift to give his kids than to be there for Christmas with them. I sort of feel like the sheriff is being half true and half not. Like, yes, it would be very nice if he came home for his kids at Christmas, but I feel like it's that when you ran away from home and your parents were like, "Oh, if you come back, you're not in trouble," and every time you came back, you were definitely in trouble. It's almost like that. Like the sheriff's like, "Please come back. We all love you. We'll forgive you." But he's like, "But we'll also charge you and give you a lot of monetary fines but we still love you. We really love you, but you may have to go to jail for a while. But come back and see your family for Christmas. Then we'll arrest you on New Year's, all right?" It's almost like that. The jail will be welcoming life insurance fraud. That's right. His kids are better off without a deadbeat, worthless father. That is true. Yeah, divorce papers, not a problem. He has no regard for his family, obviously. No, he does not. To leave a wife and 3 children, that poor lady, man, she's like, she has to do it all on her own, which is very sad. I hope her family is supporting her. That man's a walking red flag. I actually almost bought some red flags. You know how I said I wanted some red flags so I can wave them when we hear about red flags in cases? I almost bought some. I found some. I haven't bought them yet, but I will so I can wave them when we get we could go like red flag. It's definitely a red flag. That guy's definitely in on it. Patty L says, yeah, he has no regard. He does not. That one's done. All right. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if he has a mother somewhere. Yeah, I hope they have some family support as well. Wendy R says, yeah, I don't know. I got no idea. All right, give me 1 second, everyone. Hold on. All right. I had a great night with everyone. This was a really good show. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed bringing you a story that could use people's help. And I feel like from my understanding of it, it is solvable. And I feel like we're right on the cusp of getting that, getting her daughter back for her and holding someone responsible for her murder. And I feel like we're just a fraction off. We just need that little bit more to go to the Crime Stoppers or the New South Wales Crime Commission, and we're right there. I'd love to see that for her mum and her family. I'd love to see them finally get the answers that they've been so longing for, and for her friend Vanessa, so she knows what happened to her friend after that fateful night in 1997. I really think we're right there. Gayla says, I don't understand why he would move there. It's not exactly paradise next to Afghanistan. I've got no idea. His cat and dog are even mad at him. Yeah, they're not his friends anymore. Ay. I don't think I have any more stories. Oh, we're going to look up that car chase before we go. I'll have a look. Was it really a camper van car chase? I don't think. Let me have a look. Da, da, da. No, not that one. Yes. Yeah, past 24 hours. Yahoo has one. Why is it giving me stuff from 8th of April 2023? Weird. Yahoo has one here. From Kiro 7. Police chase ends with a 2-car crash leaving 1 dead in Spanaway in Washington State. I don't know if this is the right one, but it is one. Let's see if I can find some footage of it for you. I couldn't find the one in LA. Seattle. Yeah, detectives. Yeah, I actually can't find one. Interesting. What are they called? Kiro 7. Here we go. Let's see if they have it on here. No, they have like no stuff on their channel. That's very odd. Kiro, you're terrible. So obviously they don't care about their YouTube channel. Look at this. They have stuff from 1989. And the last time they uploaded anything was 2 months ago. So no car chase out of Washington. That you are most welcome. It was a lot of research and a lot of it was a lot of research and a lot of, you know, I made all these photos. I did all these, and yeah, it was, I did all the thumbnails, and it was a lot of work. I was up until about 3 a.m. in the morning last night getting everything tidied up, all the videos and all the Inquest data and the new stuff. Oh, actually, yeah, justice for Jessica. I hope so. I really do. I do have KTLA. Yeah, I love KTLA, or I use ABC7. Let's have a look. Huh? Oh, interesting. Let's go to KTLA for a second. 19-year-old found murdered on San Bernardino County Road. Authorities are investigating after a man was found dead on a road in San Bernardino County. The victim was identified as Renee Isordia, 19, from Riverside, according to the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Office. On November 17, deputies from Fontana Sheriff's Station responded to reports of a man down in the, how do you pronounce that? The 12,800 block of Holly Street in Bloomington shortly before 8:30 a.m. Arriving, deputies found the man, Renee, lying on the ground with multiple injuries. He was pronounced dead at the scene. No suspect was spotted in the area, and the circumstances surrounding his death remain unclear. Unclear. Super unclear. Let me see if I can find a photo of Renee. Here. No? I don't think I do have a photo. No, apparently not. The San Bernardino Sun had an article, and then Yahoo had one. What about Patch.com? I think it's the same article. They're saying here, hey, go away. Upon arrival, deputies discovered Renee deceased and suffering from multiple injuries on Tuesday afternoon. Information about a suspect was unavailable. The investigation is ongoing. Additional information will be released when available. Anyone with information about the case is asked to contact Sheriff Detective Charles Lopez, Specialized Investigations Division at 909-890-4904, or callers can remain anonymous at WeTip at 800-78-CRIME or WeTip.com. But no photo of the dead person, Renee. All right, I try one more. I want to see this I want to see this car chase. Let's go back to KTLA. You're on KTLA with me. Here, let's have a look. Family dog missing after losing home to mountain fire. I hope they find the dog. Where is this? No car chase? Oh. Let's have a look. Long Beach police in Long Beach searching for a suspect after Long Beach woman shot and killed in an attack that was not random. Police are searching for the killer responsible for the shooting death of a 21-year-old woman in Long Beach on Friday. According to the Long Beach PD, officers responded at about 11:42 a.m. to reports of a woman suffering from a gunshot wound in the 900 block of Gaviota Avenue. Upon arrival, officers found the woman who had been shot in the upper body. She was later pronounced dead at a local hospital. The woman was identified as Justice Lopez, 21, of Long Beach. Wow, 21, so young. They said the suspect fled the scene on foot before authorities arrived. As of Saturday afternoon, there are no descriptions of the suspect available and they remain at large. Police said investigations have revealed the attack was not believed to be random, though it wasn't immediately clear how that determination was made. Justice Lopez of Long Beach. No photo for that person either. No, two crimes with no anything. Wow, LA is just full of crime today. Another one. Palmdale man arrested for allegedly groping girl 12 at a bus stop. A man has been arrested for allegedly groping a 12-year-old girl while she was waiting for a bus in Pasadena earlier this week. The assault occurred in the 300 block of North Lake Avenue just before 9:30 a.m. on Wednesday. They say the Pasadena PD confirmed to KTLA on Wednesday that the girl reported a man sat next to her and assaulted her while she was at the bus stop. After the incident, the girl, who was not physically harmed but was shaken up, got on the bus and went to school, where she contacted her mother. Her mother then took her home and reported the incident to police. They're saying based on their surveillance footage and investigative findings, officers determined that the arrestee, 57-year-old Faris Tollett, was the suspect and arrested him. When Faris was arrested, where he was arrested was not disclosed. He's been charged with child molestation. Inmate search records indicate he's being held on $150,000 of bail. So there you go. That poor girl, 12 years old, just trying to go to school, and some creep tried to attack her. Pretty gross. Thank you, Kathy. I appreciate it. No, no. So the decision for bail for Isla Bell, that'll be on Monday. So tomorrow I should have more information for the Sunday night show about whether that bail has been granted or not in the case of Isla Bell, and it's not the guy who murdered her. It is the guy who got charged with accessory to murder. So it's the friend of the murderer, the guy who brought the fridge. We'll find out whether he gets bail tomorrow. So, yeah, me too. What a very smart little girl, though. Act calm, be calm, follow your routine, get to safety, go to school, and contact mum. She's a very smart little girl, a very, very brave little girl too, but very clever. Very clever. You know, don't make it like, you know, worse, and just try and get to safety and then call mum. I think she's very clever. What a clever little 12-year-old. Yeah, hey, I love you all. It's been a long show. We almost 3 hours went like that. We went so quick tonight. It was a very, very long show, but flew by tonight. I'm glad we didn't start at midnight. Otherwise, we would have been on until about 3 a.m. in the morning. It would have been way, way late. But yeah, all right, let's wind up. Hey, I really enjoyed doing this type of show. I don't know when the next time we'll do a single topic type of show for the majority of it. It's not something we do that often. We normally like news, headlines, latest events, but some cases are worth it. Like Jess's case, it is worth doing. So, has Mrs. P listened in tonight? Were you listening to the show tonight? Some of it? What are you eating? Is that one of those candies? One of the new ones? Mars bar? Hold on. There we go. Hey, it's all right. You can come now. The camera's off. You gonna say hello to everyone?
Hi, everyone.
Did you enjoy the show tonight?
I did. It was good.
Did you like hearing about Jess?
Yeah, that's a really sad story.
It is, right?
Yep.
It's hopefully they can figure it out, you think?
Hopefully.
Just takes one person.
It does. Yeah, hopefully.
Hopefully.
Someone speaks up.
Hopefully, yeah. All right. All right, I better get out of here. If she was... Oh, I don't know. That's all right. I can turn on the camera. She's gone now. If she was 15 in 1997, she's 2 years younger than me, so she'd be 42. Yeah, there you go. Gayla got it. Sorry, she had to go. Something keeps falling in the bathroom, and it keeps making a loud noise, so she's went to go fix it. Great to hear from Mrs. P. I told her last night that we should do like a couple live show, and she fought me on it for about 20 minutes. She's like, I don't want to be on the show, and I'm like, you can have the camera off. And she's like, no, I don't want to. And I'm like, everyone wants to hear from you. And she's like, you're the public speaker. You're the one who can talk to people for hours. And I'm like, I know, but they just want to do like that husband-wife type, you know, the big trend that everyone does with like their partner and all that. And I said, they want to hear what you think about different cases. And she's like, no, I don't want to do it. Oh, if she could join the chat, I could ask her. I don't think she's even subscribed to the channel. I don't think she's even subscribed. I'll have to ask her if she comes back out before we end the show. I don't know where she went. Hold on. Hold on. I'll see if she's coming back. Hey, I've got the camera off again. They want to know, are you subscribed to my channel?
No, I'm not subscribed to your channel. You told me not to subscribe to your channel. But if you want me to, I will.
You can subscribe if you want. Yeah. They want you. They said if you don't want to go on the show and do like a couple show, that you could join the chat and talk to them in the chat.
Okay. Yeah, I'll do that.
You want to do that? You could do that while you're away during the week sometimes.
Yeah, at work it won't be easy, but
yeah.
home is fine.
Did you know about Jessica's case before I did it tonight?
Yeah, you told me about it.
No, but before I worked on the case.
No.
not like just today. No, you didn't know about it. I thought maybe you did because you're a little older than me. I thought maybe you would have heard about it on the news. I remember it on the news when I lived in Sydney, but because I lived in the area, it's not in the area, but I lived in the western part of Sydney, and then I thought maybe you would have heard about it because you're a little older. You don't remember her going missing? You remember Mr. Crawl though, right? Yeah, you were old enough to remember Mr. Crawl. Yeah, that was. We'll do that again one night. We'll do that again one night. No. All right, I can turn the camera back on now because she's gone that way. Yeah, I don't think he stopped doing it either. She said she might come join you in the chat at some point. She said maybe at some point when she gets a chance. Yeah, she likes you guys too. She doesn't sound convinced? Yeah, no, she's not convinced. Mr. Crawl, Mr. Crawl. We've done that before. Hold on. Yeah, I can show you. You guys would remember this one. This guy. It's the Carmen Chan case. No, I just meant cause she is a little like I'm younger than she is. I thought maybe she would remember it because maybe she paid more attention to the news. But I didn't tell you her age. I don't think any of you know how old she is. All you guys might know is she's maybe older than I am, but that's it. You guys don't have no idea. She could be 1 year, 10 years, 25 years, 8 months, a month, 2 minutes. You guys have no idea. She's over 40. That's a good guess since I'm 40. That's right. She's a cradle snatcher. No, I'm just kidding. Although her uncle likes to make fun of her. Her uncle likes to make fun of her for it quite frequently. One day when we go to the wedding, I'll see if I can I'll see if my brother-in-law will come on the show. Although it's his wedding, so we'll see if they're very busy. But me and him actually grew up in the same area in Sydney, and it's funny because my real name, he has the same name. So the two daughters in the family both have partners with the same name that both grew up in Sydney. Like it's so weird. It's you should see our family dinners when we go out for dinner. It's so bizarre, and yeah, it's quirky that both daughters have partners with the same name. It's strange. It's like out of all the men in Australia, you couldn't find a guy with a different name from a different part of the world. They got the same name. Tharvi says, I'm 11 months older than my husband. Oh, that's nice. You can beat him up. Gayla says, I was older than my ex-husband by a year. Yeah, well, I don't even know what it is. I'm not sure what the age difference is, but it's some time, whatever that is. It could be a minute, could be 9 years, could be 45 years. Who knows? Maybe I'm married to an 85-year-old. Who knows? I'm glad you guys really enjoyed tonight's show. There's more of these we could do. There is hold on, how many is there? Nah. The microphone's on too. Yeah, hold on. I'll be done in a minute. So here, $1 million reward for information is available on all these cases within New South Wales. William Terrell, Maria Smith, Penny Hill, that's a good one. Penny Hill's a really good one. We should talk about some night. The disappearance of Bill Roach, that's a good one. Melissa Hunt. I think we've done Melissa. I think we've talked about Melissa. I don't know if I've done her entire case for you. The homicide of Simone Strobel, that one I think we've done several times. That's a really good one. She disappeared from the far north coast of New South Wales 15 years ago. They found her body 6 days later, Thursday the 17th of February 2005. Her killer has never been found. We could do Simone one night. I think that would be good. Robin Hickey. This one is really. I think we've done Robin's case a couple of times, but yeah, we have done this one before. But Robin's a good one. Amber Haig. That is a very good case that needs a lot of help. $1 million reward. There's a lot of them, guys. Denise Govindia. I thought they solved this one recently. I thought they charged her husband. I think they did. They charged her husband recently with her murder. I think we actually did it on the show at the time, but look how many. There's so many. Lynette White, Gary Alban, Ravel Balmain. We've done Ravel a few times. She was the working girl who went missing in Sydney, and they believe it's possibly her last client. So, yeah, a lot we could get to on another night. $1 million reward is almost unheard of in the USA. I know Canada has something similar. They have like a sort of like a lottery thing. If you if you give information, you go into like a draw where you can win money. And I know Mississippi has it as well, and a few other places where you can get money if you get it's almost like a lottery. So if you give a good tip, they put your name into the running for like 20 grand or something. It's a great idea. All right. Hey, I love you all very much. I really do. I am so thankful for the people I have that support this channel and are trying to help me get there. We're trying to get to like, the big leagues. We're trying to get to the 5 grand, the 10 grand, the 20 grand, 50 grand, 100 grand subscribers. If you have not subscribed to this channel, I would really appreciate it. It takes a lot of work to put these shows on every day, and these in-depth investigative ones are a ton of work. Like I said, I was up until 3 a.m. last night, compiling the research, writing my notes for the show, going through the Inquest stuff, making sure I could answer your questions, and finding the video back footage for you. So, if you're unable to be a person who donates, I understand that. But if you're someone who just watches on and off, I'd appreciate if you could hit that subscribe button and maybe even give the show like a thumbs up or a like, whatever they call it now, and leave a comment. I read everyone's comments, including yours, STL cards. I saw your comments this morning. They told me they did not hit the like button yesterday because they did not enjoy the show. That's okay. I know, we're just shy of 500 shows on this channel. Can you believe it? 500 live shows since I started this channel. It is bonkers. When I first started this channel, I didn't think we'd ever get to like 100. I remember when I used to do live shows with Amy, and we did like 5, and then we didn't do it anymore. Now we're up to 500 live shows on this particular channel. One day it'll be 1,000. One day it'll be 1,000. So I hope people subscribe, help me out. Yeah, you want to see more content like this? Hit those buttons. I'll see you tomorrow. We'll be back here tomorrow for what is it called? What do we call it now on Sunday night? It's called like Crime in America on Sunday night. It's like 60 minutes with Ping. So we'll be back tomorrow. I've got 2 stories for you for tomorrow night out of the USA. One is a cold case, and one is a recent murder that has gone unsolved in a state in the US. So, and we'll do some updates, and other stories we're following, like that missing girl that's up near the border in I can't remember the state, but she's right near the border of Canada. We're looking it up. Not tonight, last night. We'll see if there's an update for that. We'll do heaps of stuff. All right. I love you all. I'll see you tomorrow. Hopefully StreamYard will play good tomorrow and I can get a brand new video for us. I've been looking for time-lapse video, so hopefully we can have a brand new one tomorrow. Good night. Have a great Sunday wherever you are and keep safe out there. You hear the stories we're talking about, just because it happens to them doesn't mean it might not happen to someone else. And you got to be careful out there. Always be aware of your surroundings and just try and be aware of everything that's going on and keep yourself safe out there. I would hate to read a story about one of my viewers that ended up on a page like this. It would be terrible, We already have enough sadness in the world. To everyone, remember those numbers I gave out tonight. If you have any information on Jess's murder and abduction, call those numbers. Help her mum, help her family, help her friend Vanessa, and just bring the torture to an end. Almost 30 years. Good night.